Part 3. Everyone knows I'm a good man. Author, Tang Mao. Chapter 21. Chapter 21. Zheng Qinghui, a rich second-generation roommate, listened as Chen Yueyang told him, "We don't have much time and we must make use of time theory." He felt that Chen Yueyang was stupid. Even if that's the case, can you really stop doing laundry for the rest of your life? And what are you going to do with the little time you have left? You're such a fool. Coming from the northeast, he looked at Chen Yueyang as if he were a fool, then looked back at Ji Chang's, who was reading a book with a calm face, as if he was completely immersed in the world in the book and could not see here, and sneered. You believe he is deceiving you? According to what he said, we all should stop washing the clothes and just let them stink. If you don't wash the clothes and leave them here, they will have to be washed in the end. As he spoke, he raised his voice very loudly, deliberately letting Ji Chang's hear him, and said with ridicule, "You are not like Ji Chang's. Your mother still has to follow you when you go to college. When he comes home, his clothes can be washed by his mother. Can you?" Chen Yueyang was still confused. He felt that what Zheng Qinghui said made sense. But what Ji Chang said makes more sense. He lowered his head and looked at the books on the table, but we only have so much time to study. Zheng Qinghui, damn it, this guy is really stupid. Except for Ji Chang's, the other three people in the dormitory have always had a good relationship. Although they have different personalities, they all have no bad intentions and do not care about each other. After getting along for so long, Zheng Qinghui really regards his two roommates as brothers. As a result, the brother is now stupid. Can he not find the culprit to settle accounts? Zheng Qinghui turned coldly, turned around and strode to Ji Chang's desk. Seeing that the young man was not wearing headphones, but looked like he didn't hear anything, as if he was reading a book seriously, his face became even more angry. "Ji Chang's, what are you talking about with Yueyang? If you don't wash your own clothes, you want to take him with you too, right?" The young man frowned slightly, slowly looked away from the book, and looked up at the person in front of him. Zheng Qinghui had a provocative look on his face. "I just want to see you unhappy and you can hit me if you can." He had long been unhappy with Ji Chang's. He doesn't clean the house, is arrogant, and even pretends his roommate's car is his when trying to pick up girls. What kind of rubbish is this? Come. The worst case scenario is a fight? Who is afraid of whom? However, the young man's eyes stayed on Zheng Qinghui's provocative face for a second, then he lowered his head as if he were nothing and continued to read his book as if nothing had happened. Zheng Qinghui. Ji Chang's, who are you looking down on? Celebrate the glory? Chen Yueyang saw that Zheng Qinghui was about to pounce and hit him, so he quickly stepped forward to stop him. "Nagaze didn't mean that. He was like this when I talked to him before. We are all roommates, let's talk to him if we have anything to say." "Who is his roommate? Has he cleaned the dormitory once since school started? And you, when did you take his side? What, let me tell you, he just doesn't want to waste time studying. Fart, just say how much time you can waste. I think this kid just looks down on me. Get out of the way. I have to teach him why the flowers are so red today." One of them wants to step forward and the other wants to stop him. As the culprit, Ji Chang still sat there quietly, turning the pages of the book at a rate of once every 10 seconds. Zheng Qinghui caught this keenly, and suddenly felt that he had caught Ji Chang's excuse for pretending to be stupid. "Ji Chang's, I'm telling you, don't pretend. You are turning pages and reading in such a short time. Who are you fooling?" When he said this, Chen Yueyang, who was stopping him, also turned his head and looked over. Ji Chang still had a calm expression on his face, without even looking here, and his men quickly turned the pages. Chen Yueyang. Right. No one reads books like this. Even he didn't believe Ji Chang's was reading. He immediately put down the hand holding Zheng Qinghui with some embarrassment and said humbly, "Nagaze, Qinghui doesn't mean any harm. It's just that you said his car was yours, and he was angry. Why don't you apologize to him?" The young man temporarily stopped flipping through the book, frowned again, and turned towards the two of them with an expression of "Why do you have so many things to do?" "What car?" Zheng Qinghui sneered again, "Are you still pretending to be stupid? The forum has spread the news, and you are still pretending. Calm down." Chen Yueyang quickly pulled him back to prevent him from going up to beat someone. He took out his mobile phone and handed the photo from the forum to Ji Chang's. Pointing to the red convertible behind Ji Chang's above, "That's the car." The young man glanced coldly. "Oh. Chen Yueyang." Zheng Qinghui's temper suddenly rose. "You thought we were giving you popular science, right?" "Ji Chang's, I said you are quite shameless. You claimed my car was yours and then went to pick up girls. You are so shameless. Why are you so thick?" Ji Chang's remained expressionless and his voice was cold. "Did I say that?" Zheng Qinghui sneered, "Didn't you say that?" Chen Yueyang, "That, Qinghui, he really didn't say anything. This picture was posted on the internet by someone else, and the caption was sure enough, only a rich second generation with good looks and money is matched with a beautiful woman with a beautiful body." Ji Chang's himself has never spoken. As he spoke, he showed Zheng Qinghui the title of the post that had become a popular post. "Zheng Qinghui, this post has been floating around on the school forum for 3 days. There are also post bars and people are following him on Weibo. Do you think he can't see it?" He was quite capable of analysis. He looked condescendingly at Ji Chang's who was sitting there and concluded, he knows that this kind of lie will definitely be exposed one day, so he neither denies nor admits it. Even if others know the truth by then ask him and he can say he doesn't know. "Ji Chang's, what else do you have to say? Can you say that you don't read forums and post bars? You can always find them on Weibo. You often post some foreign academic papers on Weibo. You still keep posting after this incident happened. You think I'm stupid when you're publishing academic papers and can't see others paying attention to you." Chen Yueyang wanted to persuade him again, but just as he opened his mouth, he suddenly reacted. "Yes. This doesn't make sense." He now believed that Ji Chang's had the idea that Zheng Qinghui said, and looked a little embarrassed. "Chang's, just apologize to Qinghui. No matter how you say this, it's your fault." "Ji Chang's, I don't go on Weibo." Zheng Qinghui sneered, took out his mobile phone, found Ji Chang's Weibo, clicked on it, handed the main page to him, refreshed it, and asked. "Okay, tell me, if you don't go to Weibo, then who does these Weibo posts that you post every day? Are you a ghost? If I refresh it like this, will it be posted? Will it? Do you think it will?" Deng deng deng. Weibo refreshed successfully. Under the gaze of the three people, Ji Chang's Weibo showed that he had posted a new Weibo. Zheng Qinghui. Chen Yueyang. Ji Chang's, it will. Zheng Qinghui held Weibo in disbelief and looked at it carefully, but no matter how he looked, the release date was 1 second ago. He went to see Ji Chang's again. The young man was still sitting there as upright as before, without holding his cell phone in either hand. "Zheng Qinghui, how did you do it?" Ji Chang's, publish on Weibo regularly. Scheduled release? Does Weibo still have this thing? Seeing his disbelief, Ji Chang's tone remained calm. "Won't you check Weibo's beginner's guide after downloading it?" Zheng Qinghui. Although Ji Chang's face was still expressionless, his tone was still the same as before. But why? He always felt as if the person in front of him was wondering that he had such a low IQ. "Zheng Qinghui, who said you haven't read it?" "I have. But who would remember such a small thing, right Yueyang?" "Chen Yueyang, I didn't read it. Where is this beginner's guide?" Not yet. The young man nodded slightly. I did it myself. Zheng Hui. Chen Yuiyang, yes, Ji Chang's loves to do such things. Zheng Hui still felt that he was being tricked. No, can't you just post on Weibo properly? What do you do on time? Ji Chang's, waste of time. Zheng Hui. Why is it so annoying? He rolled up his sleeves and was about to put them on, but Chen Yuiyang quickly stopped him. Calm down, that's what he is like, and he was like that when he talked to me before. In order to prevent the roommates from fighting, or Zheng Hui unilaterally beating Ji Chang's, Chen Yuiyang coughed dryly. Nagaze, please explain yourself clearly. Isn't it just a post on Weibo? And you think it's a waste of time, so why don't you just post it? Not feasible. Ji Chang's, I need followers on Weibo. If you post it in one go, according to calculations, only one person out of 100 people will read it. But if you post it every once in a while, 34 people out of 100 people will read it, and an average of 8 people will follow it. Chen Yuiyang nodded frequently. Then he asked the sole question, so what do you want fans for? The young man glanced at him with a bit of doubt, with a look on his face like, don't you understand this? Of course it's an experiment. Facing the two people who looked confused, he directly turned on the computer and clicked on the file marked main reason for the increase in the number of fans. Showed it to the two of them. It not only records various data in detail, but also writes how fans reacted to the content he posted, whether anyone unavailable, why they unavailable, and what their general mentality was when they unavailable. You can tell at a glance that these things are definitely not the result of a day. Of course, the fact is that it is a day's work. After all, the original owner started Weibo just for Zhuang Bi, and his mentality was indeed what Zheng Hui said. But none of that mattered now. Ji Chang's was quite patient at the moment, so he exited and clicked on another file. There is also a PPT here that can display all the data more intuitively. If you want to see it, I can send you a copy. Zheng Hui. Chen Yuiyang. Who wants to see this? Zheng Hui no longer wants to worry about whether he has a car or not. He just wants to know one thing. So, what's the use of this? The young man's expression was still cold and indifferent. You can sell it for money. Zheng Hui. This thing? Sell it for money. Ji Chang's nodded expressionlessly. The marketing company will buy it. Zheng Hui, which company would buy this thing? No, wait, you really don't know what happened on the forum. Still frowning, the young man took out the mobile phone from the drawer and threw it to Zheng Hui. If you don't believe me, don't disturb me while I'm reading. Zheng Hui turned on his phone silently. Well, once you open it, the page is quite full. It's just that they are not software, but files. Just click on one and you'll see that it's densely packed with foreign texts, and at first glance it looks like an academic paper. Zheng Hui searched all over without belief, but couldn't find a social software commonly used by young people nowadays, let alone a forum game. He was speechless for a while. No wonder Ji Chang's didn't know about this. This guy's body is in the bustling city, but his mind is in the mountains and forests. But why did he still feel that Ji Chang's was lying to him? Zheng Hui looked suspiciously up and down at Ji Chang's, who was turning pages every 10 seconds, and his mind cleared. Don't try to lie to me. Do you think you can fool me in this way? If you weren't feeling guilty, would you flip through the book so quickly? In such a short time, you can't finish reading the 5 elements. The young man's eyebrows furrowed even more. He put down the book and turned around to look over. You're noisy. Don't talk to me, it's a waste of time. Zheng Hui, yes, that's the disgusting look. Before, if everyone just said a few words, he would say with this dead face that they were noisy. What a noise, it's broad daylight, not at night. The key is that this kid Ji Chang's went to complain to the counselor, saying that they were disturbing his study. Because he remembered the disgusting things in the past, the anger in Zheng Qinghui's heart emerged again. Why are you pretending to be a waste of time? How precious is your time? Cleaning is a waste of time, and our time is not time? Are you the eldest young master? We all have to serve you. It's like God when you turn over a book. You can't pretend to be anything. Your grades aren't particularly good. Even the serious top academics like you are not pretending. You're just pretending. The more he talked, the angrier he became. He reached out and grabbed the book on the table, turned a few pages, and the expression on his face became more and more sarcastic. You also read such a profound book? Ji Chang's, you are really pretending. If I didn't know your grades, I really thought you were so good. Don't think that this matter will be ignored. I tell you, from now on, in the dormitory you have to clean and throw away the trash, otherwise don't blame me for being rude to you. He entered this university by passing the cut-off line. As a rich second generation, Zheng Qinghui doesn't like racing cars, drinking, or picking up girls. He just likes to work hard. To prove that he is no worse than his father. When he was in his third year of high school, he struggled to get in. Those who usually admired the most were those top academics. But he didn't pass the exam just to become the eldest young master's roommate. Seeing him taking away the book, the young man looked slightly cold. Stretching out his hand, "Give it back to me." Seeing this, Chen Yueyang quickly grabbed Zheng Qinghui and said, "Qinghui, please return the book to him first. Let's talk it over carefully. Don't make it worse. It won't look good. If we get punished. Are you going to watch him pretend to be stupid again? How long have we tolerated him? He thinks he is a god and does not eat the fireworks of the world." Zheng Qinghui had endured it for so long, but this time Ji Chang's tarnished his car made him explode. He turned the book to the previous page. "Come on, don't you pretend to read a page for yourself? Tell me, if you can tell me the general content of this page, I will forget about it, and I will clean your house from now on. I will treat you like an uncle." The young man looked at him quietly for 3 seconds. Then he stretched out his hand and began to memorize it silently with an expressionless face. As soon as he stood up, Zheng Qinghui's expression changed. Ji Chang's actually started memorizing it from the first word on this page, and he recited it word for word. Chen Yueyang saw that his expression was wrong, so he approached him curiously. "What's wrong?" "Damn it!" The two of them were simply dumbfounded as they watched Ji Chang's memorize it directly. Zheng Qinghui. Chen Yueyang. Until the last word on the page, there was not a single word wrong. The two people looked at each other and saw the confusion in each other's eyes. Zheng Qinghui came to his senses first and glanced suspiciously at Ji Chang's, who had no expression on his face as usual. "Is this a lie? Or have you read this book a long time ago?" He turned around and found a book from his bed. This book was not issued by the school, but he bought it specially to educate himself. "Normally, I almost feel sleepy after just 3 lines of reading. This is a hypnotic tool." He turned over a page at random and handed it to Ji Chang's. "I will give you a minute to read it. If you can memorize it like before, I will apologize to you." Chen Yueyang read the book and leaned into Zheng Qinghui's ear. "Qinghui, isn't this good?" "Fine." Zheng Qinghui was full of confidence. This book is not ordinary obscure. If he could really memorize it after reading it for a few times, he would be a human being. What else can it be if it's not a human being? It's a fairy. As soon as Zheng Qinghui finished speaking, the young man finished scanning the content and handed the book back. Then, he spoke in a calm voice. "Still word for word. Still from the first word to the last word." Zheng Qinghui. Chen Yueyang. No, if you have this ability, why are your grades so mediocre? Ji Chang's glanced at him coldly. There are too many questions, it's a waste of time. Chen Yuanyang was afraid that Zheng Qinghui would get angry again, so he quickly helped to explain. He means that he knows those questions well, and it would be a waste of time to answer them again. He wasn't sure either. Would anyone really do this? Then he looked back at this young man who was obviously a king, but had been living among them with a silver identity. Suddenly, okay, it really does exist. Zheng Qinghui's expression was still stunned. He turned over another page at random and handed it to Ji Chang's. You come again. I don't believe it yet. The young man's eyebrows were still furrowed, and his expression was already a little impatient. Chen Yuanyang quickly advised him, Nagaze, the last time is really the last time. Maybe his attitude was quite good. Although Ji Chang's looked cold, he still gave him the face and took the book. Then, same result again. Chen Yuanyang, oh my god. Zheng Qinghui was completely confused. Ji Chang's didn't take care of the car because he never went on social media. Ji Chang's posts on Weibo every day to conduct experiments. Ji Chang's keeps a cold face every day because no one thinks they are noisy because his brain is inputting knowledge as fast as a computer. Why does he feel that this world is so magical? Chen Yuanyang was also shocked. He still remembered to maintain the harmony in the dormitory, so he took the opportunity to say to the confused Zheng Qinghui. Qinghui, look, he didn't lie to anyone. Let's just expose this matter. Zheng Qinghui didn't seem to hear what he said at all, and walked forward blankly. Chen Yuanyang was startled. Qinghui, don't be impulsive, you can't explain everything. Then, he watched helplessly as Ji Chang's roommate, who was the most unhappy in the entire dormitory, walked up to the young man. God, thank you for your hard work in coming down to earth, God. Oh. By the way, Qinghui admires top students the most. Everyone knows I'm a good man. Author, Tang Zhonmao. Chapter 22. Chapter 22. When the last person in the dormitory director Zhang Zijun, opened the door and came in, he thought he had entered the wrong room. The bedroom was quiet. Chen Yuanyang was sitting in his seat reading, which was normal. After all, Chen Yuanyang had to study, so he spent a lot less time in school, and he also liked to find opportunities to read. Ji Chang's is also reading a book. This is also normal. The most common thing Ji Chang's does in the dormitory is reading, Zhuang Bi. But Zheng Qinghui. Zhang Zijun looked as if he was in a dream as he looked at the man who had just put down the mop, walked across the reflective ground, washed an apple quickly, peeled it and cut it into pieces carefully, and inserted toothpicks. Finally, he brought this apple, which had changed from an ordinary apple to a chopped corpse, to Ji Chang's table. Smiling, kind-hearted, and gentle. Nagaze, eat the apple. I put the toothpick on it. It won't waste much time. The young man looked away from the book for a second, with a calm expression. Thanks. It was obvious that he still had the same cold and indifferent expression and his tone of wanting to be beaten. If this happened before, Zheng Qinghui would definitely have a bad temper. But today. No thank you, no thank you. I'll get it for you after you finish eating. Zheng Qinghui's face was full of flattery. Looking at it like that, he wanted to rush up and give Ji Chang's a leg and shoulder massage. The flattery is almost hard to look at. Zhang Zijun. It must be the wrong way. He opened the bedroom door. He turned around silently and went out, then opened it again. Zheng Qinghui was still smiling at Ji Chang's. Zhang Zijun. What happened? Didn't he just go home once? It's only been a day, he's only been gone for a day, right? Why do I feel like just going out for a while? It seems like the whole dormitory has changed. The old army is back. Zheng Qinghui saw him first. He shouted, smiled as before, took an apple and threw it directly into Zhang Zijun's arms. Here, eat the apple. The same attitude as before, the same gesture of throwing the apple. But Zhang Zijun was still confused. He couldn't help but imitate Zhang Qinghui and lower his voice. Qinghui, why do you speak so quietly? It's like being a thief. Zhang Qinghui whispered, I'm afraid it will disturb Nagasawa's study. Zhang Zijun. Sure enough, he was still dreaming. He didn't know what to do, so he could only tentatively walk into the dormitory with the apple in hand. When he was crossing the ocean, he looked at the basin next to him strangely. Yueyang, why don't you wash your clothes? The voice was still very quiet. Chen Yueyang wrote furiously, I can't waste time. I don't have much time. I want to study. Zhang Qinghui, who was busy trying to wipe the table again, was reminded. Yes, I don't have much time, I also have to study. He had completely forgotten why he didn't believe in the not much time theory before. All that was left in his mind was, this is what top student Ji Chang said. People are so smart just to learn not to do laundry. Of course he wanted it too. Zhang Zijun once again looked at Zhang Qinghui with a confused look on his face, and then he took off his clothes, even though he only took off his coat. But after he took it off, he didn't wash it, but threw it directly into the basin. Zhang Zijun. Zhang Qinghui loves cleanliness the most. Qinghui, what are you doing? I can't waste time, I want to study. Zhang Zijun, forget it, I'll bring you some clothes when I get down in a while. Don't want. Don't want. The duet sounded. Both of them looked disgusted, the washing machine downstairs is too dirty. I advise you not to wash it downstairs. Zhang Zijun, then I don't wash it downstairs, I wash it by hand. Don't, it's such a waste of time. Let me tell you, old June, the average lifespan of a person is 75 years, which means it's obviously just science popularization, brainwashing, but Chen Yueyang's skills are worse. Zhang Zijun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. According to what you are saying, let's stop washing clothes? Then don't take showers. No, I said when did you do this, so. He struggled for a long time, but he didn't say a few words that were so easy to fool. Zhang Zijun said and glanced at Ji Chang's, who was still reading quietly. He didn't have any bad feelings towards Ji Chang's. But there is definitely no good impression, after all what Ji Chang's did before. As the dormitory chief, Zhang Zijun was often implicated. Fortunately, he has an honest temper and doesn't care much. If it were Zhang Qinghui, he would have started a fight long ago. But now seeing his two roommates acting as if they were possessed by evil spirits, Zhang Zijun was murmuring in his heart. He didn't have the heart to twist and turn, so he stepped forward and asked. Nagaze, was it you who told them not to do laundry? Ji Chang's raised his eyes and looked at him coldly. No. Zhang Qinghui, whose face was full of I want to rely on my idol, will do whatever the idol says, was confused. He looked at Chen Yueyang, who quickly waved his hands and explained, he didn't ask me not to do the laundry. He just told me how precious time is. It was me who didn't want to do the laundry. Ji Chang's nodded with an indifferent expression. He didn't mean to open his mouth. After all, among the roommates in the dormitory, Zhang Zijun can be said to be the one with the nicest temper. To put it simply, others still need him to take the initiative to explain, deceive, but Zhang Zijun does not. He will fool himself clearly. Zhang Qinghui, the person who admires top academics the most, is still determined, anyway, I want to be like Nagasawa, and I don't want to do laundry either. Ji Chang's frowned slightly, with a look of disapproval on his face. Zhang Qinghui noticed it at a glance and asked quickly, what's wrong, Nagasawa, can't I do this? Do I have to change my learning method? Ji Chang's, you don't have to do this. I'll use it. Zhang Qinghui spoke eloquently, I have admired those smart people since I was a child. To tell you the truth, when I was in junior high school, my grades could not improve, but I was not discouraged and asked my father to spend money to buy me. After entering number 1 middle school, I worked hard without slacking off. After entering high school, I worked even harder, and then I was admitted to our school. Don't worry, Nagasawa. I'm not the kind of person who cares. We Northeasterners are all straightforward. I misunderstood you before and it was my fault. I apologize to you. We will still be good brothers in the future. After he finished speaking, he smiled again. I will do whatever you do from now on. Don't worry, I won't waste my time. Ji Chang's expression was slightly subtle and he looked at him as he pondered for a few seconds. Zheng Qinghui was full of expectations and tried to get him to say some famous sayings. Ji Chang's IQ is innate. The implication is that no matter how hard Zheng Qinghui tries, he can't really become a top student. Zheng Qinghui. Puff. Zhang Zijun couldn't hold it back and burst out laughing. When he saw Zheng Qinghui glaring at him, he quickly turned around and covered his mouth. I'm sorry, I couldn't hold it back. Ji Chang's continued, but there are ways to improve IQ. Zheng Qinghui, who originally looked disappointed, immediately became energetic and full of expectations again. What's the solution? Just after saying this, he thought of something again and quickly added, don't worry, I won't use your method in vain. Just tell me, I'll give you money, treat you, anything. He really wanted to be a great person. Listen more, watch more, and learn more. Ji Chang's told him directly, if you keep doing this, your IQ will improve, but not by much. Zheng Qinghui's smile froze. This way. Isn't it a method that everyone knows? He has been doing this since he was a child. Ever since he was a little kid. When someone touched his head and said, this baby is really Mr. Zheng's cub. It's just that the tiger head makes people like it, but the tiger father has no dog son. He had already decided that he must surpass his father. Let people know that there is a saying that a tiger son has no dog father. However, the ideal is full and the reality is cruel. No matter how hard he tried, how much he tried to align himself with those geniuses, he was still beaten to death on the beach. In the past, he would have directly ridiculed Ji Chang's for fooling him. But now, how could the top student fool him? This statement must have a profound meaning. Zheng Qinghui said in a hushed voice, actually, I have been doing this since I was a child, but I feel like I am not much smarter. Is my method wrong? Or is it because I am learning, listening, and seeing something wrong? Ji Chang's pretended to be in deep thought. Then under Zheng Qinghui's nervous gaze, he nodded with certainty. Maybe it's because you are extremely stupid. Zheng Qinghui. Ha 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 ha. Zhang Zijun couldn't help it anymore and laughed wildly. Chen Yueyang did not laugh. At this moment, the poor man who was worried about the collapse of the plastic brotherhood in the dormitory quickly said. Qinghui, don't be angry. Nagasawa is straightforward. Lao Jun, please stop laughing. Zheng Qinghui was not angry. Even if he was angry, he was not angry with Ji Chang's. How could a top student be wrong? Even if it's wrong, it's definitely not intentional. Geniuses all have some character flaws, and he understands that. Zheng Qinghui gave a strong smile. It doesn't matter, I will persevere. Don't worry, Nagasawa. From now on, I will be just like you. I will do nothing but study. I believe that if I continue like this, I will definitely succeed. Chen Yueyang also looked smug. Me too. Zhang Zijun was the only one who didn't know what happened, so I will be the only one cleaning our dormitory from now on. Of course Ji Chang's couldn't agree to this. He shook his head. I don't recommend you do this. I can memorize the contents of a page of a book in 10 seconds, and it takes 45 minutes and 2,700 seconds to do laundry. Without wasting the time of doing laundry, I can memorize an additional 270 pages of knowledge in one day. How many can you write down? Zheng Qinghui, well. He felt like a knife had been stabbed in his heart. Chen Yueyang did the math and whispered awkwardly, about, maybe, 10 pages. Zheng Qinghui felt like he had been stabbed in the heart again, my 5 pages. Zhang Zijun, ah. What 10 seconds? Are you Nagays? Are you so powerful? Ji Changs, I will take these clothes home and wash them, will you? The two said again. Yes, their family is not here. Zheng Qinghui, who was in depression, suddenly realized something. He raised his head suddenly with a look of enlightenment on his face. I know. You have a good memory. You can memorize the content of a page of a book in 10 seconds, so your time is precious. That's why your mother will follow you to the capital. Zhang Zijun. What? What on earth are you talking about? Zheng Qinghui didn't look at him at all, but was immersed in his own thoughts. No wonder. No wonder Ji Changs has never done anything since he started school. The sanitation is not cleaned and the garbage is not taken out. And even the clothes will be taken back to my mother to wash. Correct. Everything is right? Zheng Qinghui clapped his hands and said with annoyance on his face, why didn't you tell us this? Do you know that there are people on the internet now saying that you have a giant baby? I can guarantee that those people will be ashamed if they know the truth. Ji Changs, should I tell you? Zheng Qinghui. Chen Yueyang was used to it and quickly opened his mouth to help explain, don't misunderstand Qinghui, Nagays. I understand. I understand everything. Zheng Qinghui was not angry, but had a look of understanding. Geniuses are like this, haven't you seen the TV series? Nagasawa is pretty good, at least we can understand what he said. Zhang Zijun, can you tell me what's going on? Zheng Qinghui clapped his hands. Because he wanted to be a genius since he was a child, he did a lot of research on it. Reader Zheng Qinghui is online. Nagays, you did the right thing. Your brain is so precious. You shouldn't waste time on such trivial matters. No wonder you didn't care about others and didn't talk much before. Yes, you did the right thing. You should spend your limited time on it. Spend your time on unlimited learning, so that you can be worthy of your brain. Ji Changs, he doesn't care about others and doesn't talk much. That's because the original owner looks down on these roommates. But he didn't have to admit it. All he needs to do is keep his face expressionless and don't reply. Sure enough, when Zheng Qinghui saw him like this, his expression became more and more certain. Don't worry, you don't need to do these trivial matters. I'll help you deal with the rumors on the internet. As for the car incident, I'll go up and apologize to you right away. Don't worry. Even if I pour black water on myself, I won't make you famous. Damaged. Ji Changs, what kind of reputation? No, it's nothing. You don't need to know these things. You just need to study hard and bring glory to the country and our 301. With a passionate look on his face, Zheng Qinghui found the computer and began to protect people passionately. Zhang Zijun, so, what happened? Chen Yueyang, it's just that the Nagasawa incident was actually a misunderstanding. He was just too lazy to explain. Okay, I'm going to do the laundry. Do you want to come with me? Zhang Zijun, who was still confused, don't you not wash your clothes? Chen Yueyang, didn't you listen to what Nagays said? He can learn so many things without washing clothes. It's very cost-effective. But I can't do it. I'm not smart and I don't have a mother to wash my clothes. I'd better wash my clothes. By the way, let me tell you, Nagasawa is being wronged by the outside world. We, 301, must speak up to the outside world and help him speak up so that people don't misunderstand him. Zhang Zijun understood now. It turns out it was a misunderstanding. That's good, that's good. He nodded. Don't worry. The two of them packed their things together and prepared to go out. Ji Changs took the time to look up and saw that Zhang Zijun had already accepted the persona of Ji Changs as a good man and turned the pen in his hand. He just said that even if he didn't do anything, Zhang Zijun will also attack his own. Sure enough, it was easy. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Everyone knows I'm a good man. Author, Tang Zhonmao. Chapter 23. Chapter 23. Because everyone discovered the truth about Ji Changs was misinformed about the giant baby, the atmosphere in dormitory 301 was surprisingly harmonious. It used to be harmonious. But this was all in the absence of Ji Changs. In the evening, everyone washed up one by one, and Ji Changs was the first to go to bed after washing up. The roommates who went out to brush their teeth came back one by one, and when they saw Ji Changs who was quietly reading a book on the upper bunk, they all automatically lowered their voices when talking and walking. They were afraid that if they made any noise, they would disturb Ji Changs who was reading a book. And in such silence, the door was suddenly opened from the outside, and the boy from the next door dormitory came in and shouted, "Old June, do you need the charger? You don't need to lend it to me." SHHH. The three people booed in unison, making him swallow the rest of his words in confusion. The boy was confused, lowered his voice unconsciously, and asked in a low voice, "What's wrong? What are you doing?" Why did they just say a word and their expressions were as if he had dropped a nuclear bomb? Zhang Zijun carefully and gently removed his charger from the power strip. The series of movements were very cautious, trying not to make the slightest sound. Finally, Zhang Zijun took his charger, asked him to come over, and handed it to him silently. Then he waved his hand and signaled him to leave quickly. Boy. I don't know why, but he's obviously here to borrow a charger, but why does he act like he's here to trade something shady? But he came to ask for help, and of course he had to follow the wishes of the owner of the dormitory. So he quietly took the charger, slowly walked out of the dormitory, and then gently closed the dormitory door. When he returned to his dormitory, he asked on WeChat, "Lao Jun, what are you doing in your dormitory, who can stay silent for the longest time?" "Lao Jun, Nagaze is reading a book, we are afraid of disturbing him." Boy. What the hell, who doesn't read a book anymore? It wouldn't be like this. After posting this paragraph, he thought about the rumors on the school forum in the past few days, and suddenly felt that he understood. Did he not let you talk? I had heard before that he was a Zhuangbi giant baby, but I didn't expect it to be true he was reading a book by himself, and he actually didn't let you roommates talk who hasn't paid the tuition yet? He was filled with indignation. Unfortunately, Zhang Zijun's reaction was not at all what he imagined. "Lao Jun, what are you talking nonsense about? That was done voluntarily by us. If you don't know, don't talk nonsense. Those posts on the forum are all based on rumors." Boy. But didn't Zheng Qinghui from your dormitory stand up and slap Ji Changs in the face last time? It was the time when Ji Changs pretended that he was the owner of the convertible, but in fact the car belonged to Zheng Qinghui. "La Jun, this is a misunderstanding, not at all what it says on the internet." He curled his lips. If there was any misunderstanding, it was all settled. Now who doesn't know that Ji Changs is a giant baby, and people in the dormitory around them all know that Ji Changs doesn't clean the dormitory at all. Zheng Qinghui is still the second generation of rich people, so he still does the cleaning. Speaking of which, Ji Chang's series of incidents happened, wasn't it because Zheng Qinghui stood up first and said that the car belonged to him? Just as he was thinking about it, the roommate on the bed opposite him suddenly sat up with an "oh my god" expression on his face. "Hey! Look at the giant baby post on the school forum." Zheng Qinghui actually came to the battle to help Ji Chang speak up. Boy! He quickly clicked on the school forum, and sure enough, he saw that the giant baby post was ranked first again. As soon as I entered, the hottest reply was Zheng Qinghui's large size. Although this guy loves to study, he also has a flamboyant temper. He never hesitates to tell others who he is on Weibo and other forums. In addition, he is a rich second generation and occasionally shows off his wealth. Most of the old people who hang out on school forums, everyone knows his ID. Handsome Zheng is the most handsome boy. As for the car, I only said that the car was mine. I didn't mean to accuse my roommate at all. It's no exaggeration to say that based on our friendship, he wanted to drive the car, or I could take the car. I have absolutely no problem picking up girls for him, but the problem is, he is not that kind of person at all, and he has no interest in picking up girls. Moreover, he never said that the car was his, and I never said that he said so. Why can everyone convict my roommate based on their imagination? The situation at the time was like this. Someone took the photo. Without the consent of my roommate and the girl, that person posted the photo on the forum without coding, and fabricated the idea that Nagasawa was the second generation of rich people. The car belongs to him. After I said, the car is mine, some people began to accuse him of pretending to be a second-generation rich man. He zhuang bi, but he insisted on saying that the car was obviously not his. It's your own. The question is, from beginning to end, what did he admit? Did he say the car was his? Did he ever say that he was a rich second generation? Don't you think you are going too far by blaming him for something that never happened in the first place because it is not what you imagined? Zheng Qinghui is considered a half-sufferer in the eyes of others. As soon as his reply to speak for Ji Chang's came out, it was immediately pushed to the top. He looked at the increasing number of likes with satisfaction, silently raised his eyebrows at the other three roommates, and made an okay gesture. Ji Chang's, who was reading quietly, seemed to be aware of something. He raised his eyes slightly and looked at the people. What are you doing? Chen Yuiyang, oh, it's that forum where we are. Nothing, nothing. Zheng Qinghui cut off the topic and smiled at Ji Chang's. Chang's, just read hard and tell me if you want to go to bed later. I'll go to the toilet and turn off the lights. Ji Chang's nodded and continued reading. Although his brain is quite good, he has never been exposed to this knowledge before. At present, I can only memorize by rote, if I want to master it and achieve results. Ji Chang silently looked at the piles of books on the bed. Then put down the book in your hand that you have read quickly, continue to open another book, read a page in 10 seconds, and continue reading at the speed of rapid understanding in your brain. It is estimated that within 2 days, the level of knowledge he has mastered should be enough for an average academic. But for Ji Chang's, these are not enough. If he wants to achieve results, he needs to read more books. As for clearing your bad reputation, Ji Chang silently raised his eyes and looked at his three roommates who were typing silently on their mobile phones. He didn't have to take action at all. These good brothers will help him get it done. Zheng Qinghui did indeed do this. He organized a discussion group and brought in both Chen Yuiyang and Zhang Zijun. Chen Yuiyang, why don't you tell Nagasawa, he still doesn't know about the forum. Zheng Qinghui, tell him what to do. Tell me, if you knew you were being slandered and scolded, would you be happy in your heart? Since he doesn't play in forums anyway, we can just put this matter down for him. Zhang Zijun, how to press? Zheng Qinghui, listen to me, let me tell you, if someone has a brain like Nagasawa's, even if the country finds out about it, he will be protected. We are roommates, we have wronged others before, but this time this matter must be settled. Of course, he is also a little careful. Although genius depends on IQ, he relies on hard work. But what if Ji Chang's is willing to give him some advice? He really dreams of becoming an excellent person. So, while Ji Chang's was quickly absorbing knowledge, Within a few days, the forum had been controlled by his 3 roommates. Nagaze is not a giant baby at all, and there is nothing to say about squeezing roommates. We have a good relationship in the dormitory, helping each other on duty and so on. It's just that they have always helped Ji Chang's, and Ji Chang's has never helped them. He has never said that he is a rich second generation. You are just guessing. Those clothes and shoes were bought by his mother. Your family is poor, but your mother doesn't want you to suffer, so she bought you expensive ones. Clothes, can you still throw them away and not wear them? Although Ji Chang seems to have a lot of expensive clothes, according to their observation, Ji Chang's doesn't know the price of his clothes at all. He doesn't even know the latest fashion brands. He only knows that these are his. Mom bought it for him, and when they carefully asked about Ji Chang's mother's occupation, he answered happily that she was a nanny. It was obvious that Ji Chang's mother wanted the best for her son, so she bought it. Give him such expensive clothes. How pathetic. A mother's love for her son is actually said to be like this. Also, regarding the fact that he is arrogant, everyone in our dormitory can prove that his personality is like this, a nerd, and he can only see books. He doesn't even play in forums, and only posts on Weibo regularly. Release, let me tell you this, you said that he squeezed our dormitory and made the people in our dormitory complain, but we don't admit it. Even if it was true before, I still don't recognize it. Like them, Chi Yishu also participated in this battle to protect the Zi. Although Nagasawa looks cold, he is actually very honest. He is not at all like you say. He has 2 legs, and he has never concealed his family situation in front of me. Well, she seems to have never asked, but that doesn't matter. I know that some people will say that it is unfounded, so I went to the school to ask for surveillance that day. You can see for yourself the specific situation. There is surveillance underneath. Chi Yishu never thought of letting Ji Chang's monitor the situation. After all, he was the one who hacked in. She went directly to the teacher and asked the teacher to apply for the surveillance video from the guard. If it were said that the people in the dormitory were watching for Ji Chang's, everyone would still be confused. But as soon as Chi Yishu came out, he was put under surveillance. It was clearly understood that the so-called hugging picture of 2 people riding on 2 boats was basically taken in a borrowed position. Most people believed that this was a misunderstanding. After all, what kind of giant baby is there? He has 2 things to do: he exploits his roommates and pretends to be the boss. These things have always been talked about together. Now that one of them has come up with strong evidence such as surveillance, the remaining dirty information is of course not so real in the eyes of those who take advantage of it. Although there are still a small number of people who have opinions about Ji Chang's because of this incident, and feel that he has been stained with blackness, and no matter how hard he washes it away, it will never become white. No one on the internet is passionate about swearing anymore. But when some people talk about Ji Chang's, they still say, is that Ji Chang's who is handsome but has a giant baby, and he still needs his mother to accompany him to school when he goes to school. However, it's not a big problem. On the 4th day after arriving here, Ji Chang's, who was reading in seclusion, finally closed the last book. Okay, the skills are loaded. He picked up his phone and sent a text message to Chi Yishu. Chi Yishu, who was in class in the large classroom, felt his phone vibrate. He took it out and looked at it, and immediately smiled on his face. The friend next to me asked in a low voice, "Who is it? I see you smiling so happily." Chi Yishu said with a bit of show-off, "It's my boyfriend. He seems to be planning to make something these days. He has been reading for several days and is very serious. He just told me that he has almost finished reading and asked me to come with him today. Have a meal." As she said that, she was afraid that her friend wouldn't believe it, so she added, "My boyfriend's roommate also told me that he is very serious. Apart from eating and going to the toilet to wash up, he spends the rest of his time reading. Even in class these days his roommates answered it for him." Wow! Your boyfriend is so hard-working. Wang Xixuan, who was sitting in front, rolled his eyes. He's such a hard-working guy, he doesn't even go to class, so he just reads a book when he says he wants to. What if I'm playing a game? I'm afraid Chi Yishu is stupid. It's just a pity that her previous arrangements were well prepared, but Chi Yishu's green wave made her embarrassed. Ji Chang's, a scumbag, was also very cooperative. She was originally very happy, and she could let Chi Yishu know what it was like to wear Ching Ching Prairie on his head. Turns out there was surveillance. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. But at this moment, she heard Chi Yishu say slightly proudly from behind, I have been thinking about the matter of slandering my boyfriend on the forum before, and I feel that someone must be behind it, otherwise you say, why is it so? Coincidentally, someone took a photo of my boyfriend with another woman and posted it on the internet. They also said that my boyfriend is a rich second generation and blamed him for things he has never done. In the end, so many things came out. Enthusiasts' various revelations, it's obvious that someone is instigating this. Wang Xixuan, who was still scolding in his heart, stiffened. Everyone became nervous. When did Chi Yishu, a flat-chested and brainless person, become so smart? What if she was found out? No, she was hiring someone online at the time, and she didn't use her usual account. How could she find out it was her? However, Chi Yishu became difficult to deal with, and she actually found out that someone was deliberately messing with her. Then I heard Chi Yishu behind him decisively. Someone must be messing with my boyfriend on purpose. Wang Xixuan. Chi Yishu, my boyfriend is so smart. Yesterday I called him and casually complained about the difficulty of the homework assigned by the teacher. He solved it for me in no time. It was such a difficult homework. I was the only one in our department to do it that day. Finished. So, someone must be jealous that my boyfriend is too good, so he made all these twists and turns, just to ruin his reputation. As she spoke, she felt a little distressed. Ji Chang's has been reading various books these days, so he occasionally brings up a sentence or two when the two of them chat. She understands more and more how hardworking and outstanding her boyfriend is. She sighed, really, sometimes being too good is not a good thing. Wang Xixuan sitting in front. She believed in Chi Yishu's lies. Everyone knows I'm a good man. Author, Tang Zhongmao. Chapter 24. When Zheng Qinghui entered the dormitory today, he immediately discovered that Ji Chang's, who was supposed to be reading quietly, did not read today. Instead, he sat at the table, holding a part and looking at it thoughtfully. Nagaze, what are you looking at? He stepped forward very enthusiastically and looked at the part curiously, but he couldn't see where it could be used. Ji Chang's, I plan to be a robot. Zheng Qinghui was shocked, but not too shocked. After all, the seniors at the front of their school also made robots. When he was a junior high school student, he learned that there was a robot competition and went to visit it. The first prize winner at that time was from their university. Otherwise, why would he have worked so hard in high school to get into this university? Nagasawa is so smart, he will definitely succeed. He immediately said with a supportive look on his face, do it. I support you. Ji Chang's nodded, with a hint of depression in his usually cold voice, there is a problem. What's the problem? Is there something you don't understand? Zheng Qinghui suddenly became energetic. Is there something that the top student doesn't understand? I felt a bit of comfort inexplicably. He patted his chest and said very loyally, I know several powerful senior brothers. One of them once made a robot. How about I give you their contact information and you can ask them? As the person who admires top academics the most, he has been planning hookups since he entered school. Phew, he has made friends with several powerful seniors. Strive to gain some celestial energy. Ji Chang's voice became even more depressed. It's not a problem. Yes. He put the part on the table with an expressionless expression. My money, excluding living expenses, is just enough to buy it. Zheng Qinghui. He looked at Ji Chang's, and then at the part in front of him that didn't even have a fingernail. Then he recalled the life-size robot he had seen before. It is indeed a big problem. He thought for a few seconds and said, otherwise, I will pay for the construction of this robot, but after the robot is built, it will be used for competitions, and then I will not share the prize money equally, as long as I pay back the money I paid. In fact, Zheng Qinghui really wanted to pat his chest and promise, saying that you can make money and I will do it. After all, it was his first time to participate in the production of robots. But although Zheng Qinghui admires top students, he is not a cheating son. Even though he spends money lavishly and never be stingy with himself, that's because he is his father's son. Of course, if his father's son spends his father's money, he can do whatever he wants. But the cost of making a robot is not cheap, and his father's money didn't come from strong winds. He doesn't make any money of his own now, so of course he has to be cautious. After hearing what he said, there was a trace of confusion in the young man's eyes. Robot competition. Yes, it is held every 2 years. It will be held in 2 months. It's just that the time is a bit urgent, but it doesn't matter. We can bring together Yueyang and Lejun, and we can work together to make it faster. After Zheng Qinghui finished speaking, he saw Ji Chang's looking at him quietly, his face still expressionless, but his dark eyes seemed to reveal a trace of confusion. Zheng Qinghui, you don't know about the robot conference. Ji Chang's, should I know? Zheng Qinghui. It was indeed a familiar answer. By the way, he suddenly thought of the previous Weibo experiment and asked, why do you only have so little money left on you? Didn't you say that the marketing company wants to buy the data you created? There are meetings, approvals, and procedures to go through. Ji Chang's, besides, the money is not enough. No, Nagasawa, you are so smart, why do you, mother, still have to work so hard? Ji Chang's frowned slightly. Is there any connection between my high IQ and my mother's hard work? Zheng Qinghui, you have a smart mind. You can participate in competitions to win bonuses and write essays to get royalties. But if that doesn't work, your memory is so good. If you take part in that shorthand program and pass with full marks, you will get 1 million bonus. Ji Chang stood up. Put down the parts in your hands and walk out. Zheng Qinghui. Hey. Wait, why are you going? We are chatting. Ji Chang's looked back at him and said in a calm voice, go and participate in the shorthand program. Zheng Qinghui, do you know where the program team is? Ji Chang shook his head. Zheng Qinghui, then do you know how to sign up? Ji Chang shook his head again. Zheng Qinghui, then how do you participate? Do you rely on your thoughts? The young man's handsome face showed reflection, and after a few seconds, he sat back silently. Zheng Qinghui, Auntie, I understand why you insist on following your son to the capital. Ji Chang's is smart, but really. To put it bluntly, this guy has given up completely. When they were trying to clean up their reputation on the forum, they didn't focus on the fact that Ji Chang's is not a giant baby. After all, Ji Chang's does have no ability to survive at all. They were not close to Ji Chang's before, and of course they didn't want to take the initiative to get to know this roommate. They all wanted to keep out of sight. But things are different these days. They saw with their own eyes that Ji Chang's didn't even know how to wash apples before eating them. It's not that he is stupid, it's that he has no awareness at all. His smart head seemed to be completely filled with knowledge. In the past few days, the three of them occasionally encountered something they didn't understand, and they would ask Ji Chang's, and the answers they got were all quite perfect. This shows how powerful Ji Chang's is. As for why they didn't realize he was so powerful before? Didn't that mean they had a bad relationship before? Who would ask questions to someone with whom they have a bad relationship? So it's not that Ji Chang's is not smart. It was only recently that they discovered that Ji Chang's was very smart. Zheng Qinghui quickly stopped Ji Chang's, "You better not go. Although there is a bonus for appearing on this show, your brain is worth more than 1,000,000. If you want to make money, there is no way. Why do you have to be on the show? It's hard work, and you have to face a series of things after being exposed." Ji Chang's, 1,000,000. Yes, yes, I know there is 1,000,000. Think about it, if this robot is finished and someone takes a fancy to it, let alone 1,000,000, or even 5,000,000, maybe someone will buy it. What Zheng Qinghui said was just nonsense. In fact, he didn't know if the homemade robot could be sold for money. He only knew that he should stabilize Ji Chang's first. This guy is definitely going to be a big boss in the future, so it's better not to get involved in the show. He watched Ji Chang's eyes light up after he said 5,000,000. Suddenly I felt funny in my heart. Ji Chang's really doesn't know how to make money with his clever head. Also, it would be strange if he knew. After all, he had been framed like that before, and he still knew nothing like a wild man in the mountains. Automatically and spontaneously, I made peace with Ji Chang's in my heart. Zheng Qinghui added, "Anyway, let's finish this robot first. If we are first, there will be a bonus. If someone else takes a fancy to our robot and is willing to buy it, then we will make a fortune." Ji Chang's nodded thoughtfully. His voice was still cold, but he spoke a little faster than before. "What kind of robot would someone like? What kind of thing? Let me think about it." The first thing that popped into Zheng Qinghui's mind was a robot beauty with a beautiful face, slim figure, and fair skin. The beauty smiled, opened her red lips, and called out sweetly, "Master." "No." Etc. How could he have such evil thoughts? Ji Chang's was serious about realizing his talents and knowledge, but he was full of dirty thoughts. I really couldn't help but curse myself in my heart. Pooh. Shallow. Zheng Qinghui simply told Ji Chang's the image of the robot he wanted to design in the future when he was a child. First of all, his actions must be no different from those of normal people. The smaller the difference, the better. Then, his touchability cannot be weakened, and he must also accept instructions, and he is automatically equipped with a rescue function, such as a robot is walking on the road, and suddenly there is a car accident ahead. At this time, the robot will rush forward and push the person away. Then it's best to have a cooking function, so you don't have to cook by yourself. By the way, when I was writing this composition when I was a child, I also wrote a short story about a girl who bought a robot, and then one day she touched it. When someone robbed him, the robot's protective function was activated and he immediately rescued him. I think if our robot is equipped with the function of protecting its owner, some big bosses will be interested in it. If you think about it, a robot protecting its owner sounds very cool. While he was secretly glad that his memory was so good and he could remember things so clearly for so long, he also thought that when he was a child, he was so whimsical that he dared to think so. But yes. After all, when he was a child, he seriously considered whether to go to Tsinghua University or Peking University when he grew up. Ji Chang's asked with a serious look in his eyes, "Will robots with the function of protecting their masters be more popular?" Of course. Although his childhood ideas were a bit wild, Zheng Qinghui is still very sure about this. Of course ordinary students like us are not afraid, but those big bosses are definitely different. They make a lot of money. What if they are kidnapped? What should I do if I am targeted by a robber? If it is a bodyguard, I am worried that the bodyguard will be distracted or bribed, but the robot is different. As long as you enter the program, it will do whatever you tell it to do. After speaking, he touched his chin, but it seems that there is no such robot on the market yet. Anyway, if we really make it, the worst we can do is record some Taekwondo or Muay Thai, and then practice it on the stage, hee hee. Isn't this attractive? Seeing that Ji Chang's listened very seriously, he felt proud and happy at the same time. Of course he was happy that the top student was willing to listen to him so carefully. Ji Chang's confirmed again, how high does the attack power need to be? How powerful can a robot be? Zheng Qinghui waved his hand nonchalantly, of course, the higher the better. Don't worry Nagasawa, you are so smart, you will be fine. Even if you really can't make a practical robot, ahem, you can still consider making a good-looking face. Ji Chang's nodded, his voice light. I see. As long as you understand, that's good. If you don't suggest it, I'll ask Huiyang to go with Lejun, right? Although I am the largest sponsor of this Operation Robot, if I decide to call 2 roommates, they will definitely sign their names together. Although he knew that Ji Chang's temperament didn't seem to care about these things, Zheng Qinghui still had to ask clearly. Ji Chang's really didn't care. Okay. Zheng Qinghui immediately called someone. The roommates in 301 got together and bought all the accessories according to the names and styles given by Ji Chang's for 5 days. There are some items that are not shown in the pictures, or are not allowed to be purchased due to state regulations, so they can only quietly find factories to make them themselves. If that doesn't work, they have to find other substitutes. The 3 of them all agreed that they did not want Ji Chang's to come with them. Can genius time be the same as their time? So, when Zheng Qinghui and the others came back, they saw Ji Chang's constantly assembling parts in his hands, but his eyes fell on a book on the table. There is a pile of books under the book, and there is also a pile of books on Ji Chang's right side. The roommates have gotten to know Ji Chang's very well through observation in the past few days. Obviously, the one on the right has already been read. The ones you are watching and the ones below are the ones you haven't finished yet. Chen Yuiyang curiously stepped forward and read the titles: Knowledge of Weapons, Light Weapons, History of Weapon Development, Quantum Mechanics, Directions of Physical Theory. What is this all about? He asked Ji Chang's in confusion. Chang's, why are you looking at these? Ji Chang's, Qinghui let me. Zheng Qinghui met the confused gazes of his 2 roommates, and remembered that he asked Ji Chang's to study the Guardian, and smiled. Yes, isn't this for our robots? The 2 of them didn't ask any questions. Zhang Zijun was a little worried, there are less than 2 months left. Will we have time? Don't wait until everyone else goes to compete. We haven't even made one yet. Ji Chang silently took out a hand from the table and handed it over. Hand. Zhang Zijun. I thought what you were doing was your hand. Ji Chang's, this is a hand accessory. He looked at Zheng Qinghui again. Qinghui asked me to do it. Ha 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 ha. Zheng Qinghui finally found an opportunity and laughed back. You're stupid, I told you, the difference between geniuses and us is like gods and mortals. With Nagasawa here, we will definitely win the 3rd prize. Maybe we can even look forward to the 1st prize. Ji Chang's, smile. The 4 of them worked solidly for 2 months. Among them, Ji Chang's mainly devoted his mental activities, while the remaining 3 sighed Big Brother 666 while frantically absorbing experience and knowledge. Such opportunities are rare for them. As for Qi Yishu, after knowing the 4 people's plans, he worked hard to deliver meals to Ji Chang's every day. To be precise, it was the takeaway she ordered. After all, she can't cook. The day before the competition, Ji Chang stood in front of the robot and announced the completion after a series of handshakes, asking names, looking up information, doing fitness exercises and other actions. Zheng Qinghui, what about the function of protecting the Lord? Aren't you the one who has been doing this for the longest time? Ji Chang's turned around silently. The function of protecting the master is only once, and it must be demonstrated during the game. Once. Isn't that a little too little? Zheng Qinghui was a little disappointed. Ji Chang's, the current conditions are not enough, I will try to increase the amount next time. Chen Yuiyang's face was full of excitement, I think our robot is very good even without the function of protecting the owner. Look, if I throw my phone over, it will catch it immediately, and I didn't give it any instructions. Zhang Zijun was also full of pride, our robot will definitely win the first prize. Zheng Qinghui patted Ji Chang's on the shoulder. Nagaze, you have contributed the most to making this robot. When I go on stage to give a demonstration, do you have the confidence? Ji Chang's nodded, yes. He lowered his head and sent a text message to Qi Yishu, asking her to go watch the game. The other three people all looked proud. They know in their hearts that their robots are definitely better than everyone else's. First place. Absolute. On the day of the competition, because it was a college student robot competition, only some young people came. Qi Yishu used to like wearing jeans, but today she wanted to show off for her boyfriend, so she specially changed into a beautiful little skirt and put on light makeup. Even if her boyfriend's robot doesn't win first place, her boyfriend's girlfriend still has to win first place. Ji Chang's and the others were in front, number 3. When he was about to go on stage, the three of them pushed him onto the stage with excitement on their faces. Nagasawa. Speak well. Demonstrate well. We must let them know how powerful our robot is. Qi Yishu held a light stick in his hand. Nagasawa, you are the best. Ji Chang's nodded and stepped onto the stage calmly. The people below looked at the handsome student on the stage with an expressionless face and a cold tone. Our robot's name is 301. It cooks. The robot cooked food in front of the prepared stove in a decent manner. I will also deliver the food to you for you to eat. The robot delivered the meal to Ji Chang's. It also has translation capabilities. The robot cooperated and began to translate the sentence Ji Chang's just said into other languages. Moreover, it also has the function of protecting the owner. As Ji Chang's spoke, he casually placed the spatula in the nearby cabin for people to rest, and even opened the door to see if there was anyone inside. Seeing him running off the stage, the host quickly asked, dumbfounded, this classmate, are you saying that your robot can find this spatula on its own? Ji Chang's walked back silently and asked, is there anything valuable in this house? Host, no, it seems like there are just a few tables and chairs. He looked at the student strangely and seemed to relax, and said to the bottom, suppose a robber robbed the owner of his belongings, such as the spatula just now. You were walking on the road, and a man suddenly appeared and robbed you. Spatula, at this time, when the master issues a command, 301 will activate the master protection function. As he spoke, he said to the robot, 301, my spatula was taken away, help me get it back. The robot nodded and walked step by step to the house. Raise your arm, and the parts automatically appear and assemble, forming something similar to a cannon barrel. Boom! Ah! There were screams below, and in full view of everyone, the small house was blown to ashes. Everyone was confused. In the ashes, the robot slowly squatted down, picked up the spatula, and handed it to Ji Chang's, who was standing there waiting for it. Ji Chang's was right next to the host, who had a frightened expression on his face, and he tried his best to raise the corners of his lips. He showed the spatula in his hand to the audience below. The young man smiled lightly. Against the backdrop of the ruins nearby, his smile seemed very happy for the spatula being recovered. Look, just like this, you've got your spatula back, comma. Everyone knows I'm a good man. Author, Tang Zhonmao. Chapter 25. The competition venue, both on and off the stage, was shocked and speechless. In the silence and dust, under the corpse in the small room, only Ji Chang's was still trying hard to introduce the other functions of 301. 301 not only has the function of protecting the owner, it also has the function of dealing with the aftermath. As he spoke, Ji Chang's calmly took out the mask he had prepared for him and put it on his face. After the mask was put on, he stretched out his hand and grabbed a handful of dust, and specially showed it to the audience below watches. The voice was light and very calm. Pollution is serious nowadays. Even our robot competition held indoors will have so much dust pollution. The audience below. Do you have selective amnesia? Isn't all this dust because that house was bombarded by your robot? Ji Chang's didn't even look at the question marks on the audience's faces and continued to popularize science. A large amount of dust will have an impact on the human body. Inhaling a large amount of dust containing free silica can easily cause nodular fibrosis of the lungs, but if you have 301, the situation is very different. As he spoke, he said to the robot next to him, 301, turn on the filtering function. The robot nodded, stepped forward step by step, and opened its mouth wide under the horrified gaze of the audience. It looks like an ordinary human male. In order to express its identity as a robot, it has no hair, so the iron skull is exposed. Other than that, he looks completely human. But open your mouth. The audience in the audience looked at his big mouth, which was as big as half his head when it was opened, with confused expressions on their faces. There were even sounds of children being frightened and crying when their parents brought them to watch the game. Then, in front of everyone, 301 made a sound similar to a vacuum cleaner from his mouth. Everyone. They stared blankly at the robot with its mouth wide open, its head raised, making vacuum cleaner sounds in its mouth as it sucked in the air, while walking around and changing postures. Ji Chang's also explained very considerately, the design of 301 is not rigid. It can perfectly purify the air around the owner, left, right, up and down. In order to suck up all the dust in 360 degrees without blind spots, 301 has various postures. Squatting, mouth wide open. Stand up straight and raise your head, open your mouth. Lean forward, open your mouth. Get down on the ground, open your mouth. Etc., etc. Think about it, a group of people stood silently in the audience, watching a robot open its mouth as big as half of its head, using its own mouth to do things that you can only imagine and cannot do. Suction dust from the air. A group of people. Chen Yueyang, King Hui, this is what you asked Nagasawa to do. Zheng Qinghui was also confused. It took him a while to regain some ability to make sounds. I just asked Nagasawa to add some home functions to 301, such as sweeping and mopping the floor. Zhang Zijun, did you say anything else? Zheng Qinghui covered his face. I once said that it would be nice if the air could be purified by the way, but I really just said it casually. You believe me, it's true. As expected, the 301 on the stage has a powerful purification function. Within 5 minutes, through its efforts in various positions, the dust on the stage that was originally caused by the bombing of the small room into dust was completely gone. Ji Chang's then took off his mask, showed a smile, reached out and grabbed it in the air again, and then spread it out for everyone to see. Look, there's no more. Very convincing, what a ghost. Isn't the point of this guy coming to a competition, only to have his robot bomb a whole room? The host has no idea what to do. And Ji Chang's continued, at the same time, 301's home function is also very powerful. Just like it can purify the surrounding air, 301 can also be used as a vacuum cleaner, and it will independently plan its route to ensure that no corner is missed. Zheng Qinghui breathed a sigh of relief. He quickly said to the roommates and Qi Yishu around him, this is what I asked him to do. Those before were really not me. Qi Yishu clutched the light stick in confusion. You asked Nagaze to do this. Zheng Qinghui. Isn't it just a vacuum cleaner? He turned his head and looked at the scene on the stage in confusion. On the stage, 301 was lying on the ground, twisting and moving like a bug, with its mouth wide open, sucking on the ground while twisting steadily. After all, he was not a human being. He crawled and twisted forward at a speed that was not slow. In such a short time, he had already sprinted around the stage twice. If you want to describe it, probably a bulldozer. Audiences. Zheng Qinghui. He met the strange gazes of the three people. No, that's not what I meant when I mentioned it to Nagasawa. I just wanted to get an ordinary vacuum cleaner. Really? Really? The host has reacted a little. Although he is not sure whether they should continue in this situation, as a professional host, he still chooses to save the situation. Of course, before rescuing the scene, he quietly moved away from 301 who was moving his body on the ground to bulldoze, no, vacuuming. Wow, that's really awesome. That's right, this classmate is a robot. No, isn't the force value of 301 a bit high? It seems a bit incomplete. Ji Chang's nodded. I have also considered this issue. Indeed, 301's weapons may have some lethality, but there is no need to worry because we have also provided other protective functions for him. The host breathed a sigh of relief. It's good to have protective functions, just fine. He just said it. After all, he is a student from a well-known university. How could he not know how to protect himself? Zheng Qinghui below also breathed a sigh of relief. Look, Nagasawa still has some sense of proportion. The host had a smile on his face, and he didn't shy away from Bulldozer 301 when it came to him. Then what is the protective function? Is it a protective mechanism that will not harm humans? It's most likely this. Otherwise, the function of protecting the owner's property is simply a threat to social security. He is full of confidence. Ji Chang showed him the spatula in his hand. A mechanism to protect the owner's property from damage. The host's smile froze. He stared helplessly at the spatula in front of him, and heard Ji Chang's faint voice, 301 destroyed the entire house, but the owner's property, the spatula, was not damaged. Host. Yeah, you know, it destroys a house. Ji Chang's cold face finally showed a look of satisfaction. He took out a wet paper towel from his pocket and wiped it on the dusty spatula. Look, after cleaning it, it is still as bright as before. Look at the handle of the spatula. There are no small cracks at all. Before taking action, 301 will go through various calculations and choose the right angle before taking action. The owner's property will be you can return it to Zhao intact. He touched the spatula and said with a slight smile. The reason why 301's weapon function is to blast the opponent to dust is to protect the owner's property to the greatest extent. After all, in most cases, no matter how heavy the dust is, it will not cause any damage to the owner's property. With 301, when you encounter a robbery situation, you can order it to take action. In this way, not only will your belongings be returned intact, but the robbers can also be captured without any effort. Host. Audience below. Is that a case of surrender? That's a sky full of ashes, isn't it? Oh no. The ashes may not be left behind either. After all, 301 also has the function of purifying the air. It can be said that it is a L0NG service of destroying corpses and removing traces, ensuring that no one can find any loopholes. After Ji Chang's finished his introduction, he solemnly followed the instructions of his previous roommates and bowed to the audience. We have finished introducing 301. It is a joint work of my roommates and I. This robot will be put on display in the public area later, and we will all explain it online. Finally, we would like to thank Qinghui for proposing various functional designs. If it were not for him, our robots won't be this perfect. Zheng Qinghui. He met the strange looks of the three people again. Zheng Qinghui covered his face. Why is it always him who takes the blame? Chen Yueyang also covered his face, leaned into Zheng Qinghui's ear and whispered, "What exactly did you tell Nagaze when you asked him to do this function?" Zheng Qinghui thought of what he had said before. Attack power, the higher, the better. He covered his face again. Well, he really has to take the blame for this. Zhang Zijun is quite optimistic. It's okay. Although there is a slight mistake, isn't our 301 amazing? The worst we can do is not make weapons in the future. After finishing speaking, he saw Qi Yishu still looking at the stage blankly, thinking that the girl was scared because of her timidity, so he quickly comforted. "Yishu, are you okay? Don't be afraid." Nagasawa said this function can only be used once. Qi Yishu was awakened by his words. He came back to his senses and began to wave the light stick in his hand with bright eyes. Nagasawa, you are so awesome. Most of the students are not afraid of tigers as newborn calves, and most of the boys are very interested in weapons. Before, 301 was so lethal that they were frightened. Now that Qi Yishu shouted, 301 stood up quietly and did not move again. They none of them were afraid, everyone whistled and cheered. Brother is awesome. 66666. Even though there was a little hiccup in the middle of demo 301. But after watching this demonstration, everyone felt that the first place must be 301. This is not to mention a competition between students. Even if you put it nationwide, 301 can still come out on top. According to the rules of the competition, the jury voted to select the top 3 in these 3 days, and the students took their robots back to school. Zheng Qinghui took out his mobile phone as soon as he returned, and sure enough he saw that there was already a hot post on the school forum. Students from our school participated in the robot making competition and shocked the audience. Ha 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 ha. We are famous on the school forum. We are popular. He was so happy that Chen Yueyang took out his mobile phone. Damn it. Don't just read the forum, look at Weibo, we are all on trending searches. Zhang Zijun also turned on his phone to take a look. The comments all say that our robot is awesome, he. The 3 of them were still students. How could they not be happy when someone praised their robot so much? They immediately sat down at their desks and read the comments. Ji Chang silently sat in his chair and sent a message to Qi Yishu. Zheng Qinghui was delighted and raised his head happily. Our robot is so popular, someone will definitely buy it. Zhang Zijun nodded, yes, the price will still be high. Chen Yueyang was extremely excited, then do we have to wait for buyers to come? Zheng Qinghui is full of confidence. Just wait, there will definitely be one. Looking at the whole world, we are also very prominent. Maybe someone else wants to steal it. Isn't that how it is shown in TV dramas? Zhang Zijun was helpless, you should watch less TV series. We haven't asked you yet, what is the Shari and corpse destroying function? Why did you ask Nagasawa to add this? Do you know how dangerous it is? I just said that casually. How did I know that Nagasawa really has this ability? Hey, let's not worry about such a trivial matter. Anyway, if someone buys it in the future, we can just disable this function. I think the one that purifies the air, the function is quite good, the smog is so heavy now. Chen Yueyang and Zhang Zijun didn't believe him much. They looked at Zheng Qinghui suspiciously. We were with Nagasawa during the transformation. Don't talk nonsense to him. Look how big the fuss is this time. Zheng Qinghui waved his hands and said indifferently, isn't this great? If it hadn't been for a big fuss, we wouldn't have been angry. Besides, it wasn't that big of a fuss and the police didn't even come. Bang bang. There was a knock on the door outside. Zheng Qinghui stood up with a smile, I'll drive. He opened the door and froze. Zheng Qinghui stared blankly at a row of people wearing anti-explosion suits outside. Behind them, there was a row of people holding, those were guns, right? Is it a gun? Seeing him open the door, the masked man took out his ID and gave him a look. Hello, Ministry of National Defense, please cooperate. Zheng Qinghui. Chen Yueyang saw that there was no movement after he opened the door. He looked up strangely. Qinghui, who is it? Zheng Qinghui, probably, it's the police, police/police, comma. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Everyone knows I'm a good man. Author, Tang Zhonmao. Chapter 26. The four people in the dormitory stood quietly by the wall. The leader from before took off the protective shield on his head, revealed a resolute face, and was comforting them. No need to be afraid, just checking. 3 people except Ji Chang's. They watched silently as 7 or 8 people in explosion-proof suits were looking around the room with various instruments in their hands. There were also 3 people with guns standing guard next to them with vigilance. On top of that, there were still 2 rows standing outside. It is conceivable that if the size of their dormitory could not bear more people would come in. The 3 of them were only in their early 20s after all. Even if they could beep, they saw a real gun, and it was not a pistol, but something obviously more powerful. At this moment, some of them were scared to move. Don't dare to move either. Ji Chang's, on the other hand, had a look of confusion on his fair face. Why do we need to check? Seeing the leading man who introduced himself as Chen Xingdong and was the captain of the XX team of the XX Department of the Ministry of National Defense, he turned his attention to Ji Chang's, and the 3 of them tensed up slightly. The protection team is online. Chen Yueyang subconsciously reached out and took Ji Chang's arm and pulled him towards him. Zhang Zijun also stood slightly forward, standing in front of Ji Chang's. Zheng Qinghui, Captain Chen, Nagasawa doesn't have any other intentions. That's just his personality. Don't mind. Chen Xingdong was a little surprised to see them like this. When communicating with him before, it was Zheng Qinghui who always came forward. He thought Zheng Qinghui was the center of the 3. As a result, now, there are actually 3 people protecting the student named Ji Chang's. Of course, in addition to this, the 3 of them regarded him as a scourge, as if the student was just going to shoot him if he just said a word, which still made Chen Xingdong dumbfounded. It was obvious that he was comforting them just now. Captain, it's safe. A man in an explosion-proof suit came over, gave a military salute, and then began to report, the robot has also been inspected and no danger has been found for the time being. Do you want to move it out? Chen Xingdong, no, it's right here. I have checked everything here, and if I change places, I have to check it again. After all, in school, there are too many unstable factors. After checking for danger, everyone else went out, leaving only 2 men carrying guns following Chen Xingdong. Chen Xingdong smiled at the 4 of them. Don't be nervous, it's just a routine check. Come, sit. Zheng Qinghui and the others did not dare to move. When Ji Chang saw these people leaving and giving up their seats, Ji Chang's walked forward and sat at his table. Then he took out the book and read it as if no one else was watching. The other 3 people in dormitory 301. Chen Xingdong. Zheng Qinghui laughed quickly. Captain Chen, don't mind. Nagasawa has to read every time he gets to this point. He's used to it. Yes, we can prove it. Yes, Nagasawa has been doing this for a long time. Chen Xingdong, that's really a good habit. He looked at Ji Chang's who was reading a book with a cold face and slightly lowered eyes. Okay, is this reading a book? Isn't this a page turner? Classmate Ji Chang's, right? Could you please stop for a moment? I have something to ask you. Ji Chang's raised his eyes slightly and frowned. What's the matter? This is the robot you made. Is it true that it can instantly turn a room into ashes? Ji Chang's, yeah. Chen Xingdong's resolute face flashed with excitement, and his tone was a little more passionate than before. Then can you make it again? What I mean is that if you break away from this robot and make a new portable weapon, you can still have a robot. Effective. If not, can you make another robot like this? Although he is responsible for protecting the researchers in the institute, in fact he only has a high level of force and does not understand much about these things, so he can only speak in plain English. The young man sitting on the chair nodded calmly, yes. Chen Xingdong. The excitement on his face became even heavier. He opened his mouth to continue asking a series of questions, but when he looked up, Ji Chang's across from him had continued reading. Chen Xingdong. He has been on a mission for so long, and he has never seen anyone so brave and so confident in ignoring him. Seeing his stiff face, the three people who figured out that he didn't seem to be here to catch them all emboldened to step forward. He didn't dare to stand, so he sat in his seat. Zheng Qinghui asked cautiously, Captain Chen, are you here because of 301? Chen Xingdong. Isn't 301 the dormitory number of these students? Zheng Qinghui quickly explained, it's that robot. We named him 301. Chen Xingdong understood now and nodded, yes, I was sent to inquire about the specific situation. As well as. He looked at 301 who was standing there. When he thought that the bombing effect in the video was real, his scalp couldn't help but tingle. We may have to take this robot away. I hope you can cooperate. Of course, it's not a look-a-go, the state will provide certain compensation, and as long as the request is reasonable, we will honor it. After all, I have to take it back to verify whether it can really burn a house to ashes. And after being blasted into ashes, it can still ensure that the protected target remains intact. In fact, despite the large scale of their search for people, the senior researchers at the Ministry of National Security did not believe that the video that went viral on the internet was true. After all, in modern society, photos and special effects can be seen everywhere, especially if this is a robot made by a few students. Able to bombard a house into ashes and avoid a small spatula underneath? The country has many powerful weapons. Of course, there are weapons that can destroy a house in an instant, but I have never heard of such a weapon that can directly turn it into ashes. None of them can make such a weapon, and they have never heard of such a powerful weapon appearing in the world. How many young students can make it? Even if they believe that the small room was prepared in advance, they will not believe that such a weapon really exists. But the researchers don't believe it. Even if the weapon is only 0.000001% authentic, the Ministry of State must verify it seriously. After all, if this thing is real and it is still living outside, it will definitely threaten social security. It can blow the house to pieces, but what about the person? Let's not talk about the threat, just say that if this thing is real, then for the country, it is equivalent to mastering a new technology. So, this is what happened. When they heard that they were here for their 301, the three of them became excited. Their 301 actually attracted the attention of the country. Chen Yueyang, Captain Chen, is our robot doing too well? Zheng Qinghui thought more, does the country want to spend money to buy our robots? Can we replace it with something else without paying? Can we guarantee the research? Even the most stable and honest Zhang Zijun couldn't help but say that this robot is absolutely good. In the ears of Chen Xingdong, who did not understand these professional knowledge, Zhang Zijun said this, Captain Chen, the quality of our robots is absolutely guaranteed. We use #Yuan materials and paid a high price to buy #Yuan. Every UN percent asterisk is checked by Nagasawa, and the chip also uses hashtag technology and hashtag UN percent dot. He knew every single word, but when they were put together, Chen Xingdong only understood the first sentence. He coughed dryly. Where did you learn these? It stands to reason that if the researchers in their national department of X, all of whom are excellent people, cannot do something, a few students in their early 20s should not be able to do it either. Zheng Qinghui immediately pulled out the 3 large boxes of books under the bed. Nagaze learned it from here. He is very proud. These books were all bought by him. Although he is not as smart as Nagasawa, he is rich. Chen Xingdong looked at the 3 boxes full of books and fell into silence. There are so many books, how long will it take to read them? Do all students today work so hard? Just as he was thinking about it, Ji Chang's finished reading the book in his hand, closed it gently, and put it in one of the boxes. Chen Xingdong had a keen ear and turned around quickly after hearing this. Seeing that this unusual student finally stopped reading, a smile appeared on his face. Classmate, listen to your friends, you will be the main opponent of the robot this time. Ji Chang's ignored him and just picked up the parts on the table and started to assemble them quickly. Chen Xingdong. Zheng Qinghui smiled awkwardly. Captain Chen, you should just ask about the business directly. Nagasawa's time is very precious, and he usually feels that it is a waste of time to talk about such small talk. Chen Xingdong. As a student, time can be so precious. I'm afraid he's in the 2nd grade. It doesn't matter, he understands that most children at this age are a bit middle-aged. Thinking about it, Chen Xingdong smiled and asked the key point. Classmate Ji Chang's, can you demonstrate to us the protective function of this robot? It is the one that can blow the house into rubbish. After saying that, he added, of course not here, it must be at our designated location, or if it is inconvenient for you, you can just tell us how to operate it. The young student who was constantly assembling the parts with his hands finally looked up at him and said softly, no. Chen Xingdong. Zheng Qinghui quickly explained, Captain Chen, it's not that we didn't want to. When we first made it, the technology was limited. This protective function can only be used once. It was used on the stage during the competition. Now even if we want to, it's gone. Chen Xinlong. What a weird setting this is. So, it turns out it was a scam created by a few students. 2. You know, it's outrageous that such a weapon has such high lethality without damaging designated protective items. Even the top researchers in their country cannot do it. How could a few young students who haven't graduated yet do this? If nothing else, just say that it is necessary to not damage the designated protected items and at the same time blast the house on top of the items into ashes. What kind of precise calculations are required to achieve this? Even if he was only responsible for protecting people, he knew this was impossible. Just when he was thinking that this trip seemed to be in vain, Ji Chang suddenly added, give me the materials and I can do it again. Chen Xingdong, it's true or false? He glanced at the expressionless young man suspiciously and asked tentatively, how long will it take to make it? Ji Chang's, take the robot for 2 weeks. Just making weapons, 10 hours. The 4 of us together. 3 roommates in the dormitory. Chen Yueyang rubbed his head. Nagaze, it took the 4 of us 2 months to work on that robot. Isn't 2 weeks too short? Ji Chang's, this is the first time to make 301. It requires additional knowledge and various planning, testing reactions, and programming instructions. The level of difficulty is 6. Second production, 0 difficulty. 3 people. Yes, they almost forgot that when making 301, they were all fumbling. The first time is that the design needs to be improved in various ways. For Nagasawa, the second time was almost equivalent to assembly line production. As for Chen Xingdong, he touched his chin and looked at Ji Chang's with a strange look. Why does he feel that this little classmate is more like a robot than 301? Look at this serious talk. In fact, he is more inclined to think that this is what a few students want to do. But it was his responsibility, so he nodded and stood up. Okay, just tell me what materials you need, and we will try to test them today. Ji Chang's directly picked up the notebook and wrote down a series of material names. The three of them curiously leaned over to take a look. Hey, this is different from what we bought. Kindness. Ji Chang's nodded and admitted readily, these are more expensive. He picked up the notebook again and drew the names of some materials. I want to try to see if these are useful. If they are useful, we can buy them and continue making wings. Zhang Zijun. What wings? Ji Chang's gave him a strange look. Isn't it said that a robot without wings is not a perfect robot? He handed Zhang Zijun the parts he was assembling while talking, and raised the corners of his lips slightly. This is the prototype that is being made. After it is completed, 301 will have wings and can put the bird that fell on the ground away. Go back to your nest in the tree. Zhang Zijun, are you making wings to fly birds? Chen Yueyang looked at Zheng Qinghui silently. Zheng Qinghui, I just showed Nagasawa my elementary school composition, but I didn't expect him to take it seriously. When he was a child, he climbed a tree to deliver birds, but fell down, and was scolded by his parents. Therefore, he felt deep resentment, and he included it in his essay on robots. Because he wanted to give Ji Chang some inspiration, he even called home and asked his parents to rummage through the boxes and find the composition, take a photo and send it over. In the end, Nagasawa really remembered it. As for Chen Xingdong, he almost laughed out loud when he heard these students talking confidently about how to take advantage of the country and get materials to make what he wanted to do. But think about the ages of these children. It's understandable. It's understandable. He took the notebook handed over by Ji Chang's, which seemed to him to be full of garbled pages, took a photo, and sent a message back. In less than a few seconds, permission was granted for use. No problem. You can come with me. I will take care of the school. When the experiment is completed, I will send someone to take you back. Although Chen Xingdong does not think this experiment can be successful. But there are still necessary procedures. He turned around and was about to leave, but Ji Chang's cold voice came from behind. Wait a minute. Huh? What's wrong? Chen Xingdong looked back at Ji Chang's, guessing in his mind that the child was probably going to go and was a little scared. After all, we are still children, so bragging is okay, but if we really want to get started, who wouldn't be timid? Oh, he was a little disappointed. I was so excited when I saw that video before, but now I am so disappointed. Fortunately, he had thought about it before coming here, how great it would be if there really was such a new weapon. By then, the whole country, no, the whole world will be shocked. Unfortunately, it's not possible. Although he was disappointed, he didn't show any anger at being fooled. After all, before coming here, the researchers said that it was 80% false. Then Chen Xingdong saw the young student in front of him with an expressionless face and a calm voice. How to calculate the salary? Chen Xingdong, what? He has carried out so many missions on behalf of the Ministry of National Defense, and he has never seen anyone who wanted to follow him back to the Ministry of National Defense ask for his salary. Ji Chang's fair face showed some doubts. Do you want us to do things for you without paying you? Chen Xingdong, no, classmate, you may have misunderstood. I am not here to do anything for you. I am from the Ministry of National Defense. Ji Chang's nodded to show that he understood. Then the Ministry of National Defense asks us to do something, and we won't be paid. The three roommates in the dormitory were already stunned. Chen Yueyang quickly advised, Nagaze, you don't understand, this is a department of the state and represents the country. Ji Chang's, if the state asks us to do something, won't we be paid? Chen Yueyang, it's not that I won't give it, I just want to cooperate, you know? Let's cooperate. Ji Chang's nodded, I will cooperate. The three of them just breathed a sigh of relief when they heard him ask again, if you cooperate, how will your salary be calculated? Chen Xingdong, okay, how do you want to calculate it? Ji Chang's, most of the students in our school work part-time as tutors, with an average of 50 yuan per hour. If you make weapons for 10 hours alone, you need to pay 2,000 yuan for the four of us. The three of them were stunned. Zheng Qinghui, Nagaze, how do you know that tutoring is 50 hours an hour? Have you done experiments on this? Ji Chang shook his head, I have been a tutor. To be precise, the original owner did it. It's a pity that he was just having fun after college and had forgotten most of his high school knowledge, so he was fired on the first day. He said it differently. It's a pity that the employer didn't understand, so he was fired. The three of them suddenly realized. Immediately, I imagined a scene in my mind that children couldn't understand because Ji Chang's words were too profound. Chen Xingdong raised his eyebrows and said, okay, I'll give you the money, and we'd better leave quickly. At worst, he paid for it privately. It's too difficult for children nowadays to understand. By the way, these students are probably bluffing. Maybe they made this request just to avoid being taken away. The world is deteriorating, and now even the work of the Ministry of State is difficult to do. Anyway, it is better to take the person back quickly, complete the experiment, declare it to be a fake, then send the person back to school properly, and finally write a report to show that the world is peaceful, and just a few students playing pranks can end this matter. 11 hours later. Before dawn, Chen Xingdong led the four of them to the track where their soldiers were running and training, and chose an empty house. I went up to inspect it in person and made sure that the house made of bricks was extremely strong before I returned. Okay, we can start. Chen Yueyang, aren't you going to put something away? Chen Xingdong, it's true. But he still took off his clothes with a serious expression, let's play this. Do you need to record it? Need not. Ji Chang's clicked a few times on the weapon that resembled a human hand, found the clothes, clicked to confirm, and stepped forward with it. This time he was well prepared and took out a mask and put it on his face. Zheng Qinghui and the three of them also quickly took out their masks and put them on. This mask they just requested from the laboratory was much better than the one they bought before. After putting it on, Chen Yueyang looked at Chen Xingdong, who was wearing nothing on his face, and kindly reminded, Captain Chen, Nagasawa said that this time because it was specially made according to weapons, the lethality is twice as high as before. There is no dust cleaning function installed, so just step back without wearing a mask, otherwise your face will look gray in a while. Chen Xingdong nodded, with a fearless expression on his face, it's okay, I'm not afraid of these, come on. Ji Chang's took this hand, pointed it at the room, and clicked the button above. The parts quickly emerged and were automatically assembled, directly forming a barrel shape. Chen Xingdong's pupils shrank. I already felt a little unsure in my heart. This is exactly the same as in the video. But how is it possible? Boom. The house was instantly blown into dust, flying into the air. In just a moment, Chen Xingdong's face turned gray. He coughed quickly and wrapped his mouth and nose with clothes, but his eyes were bright. It's actually true. In the dust, Ji Chang's took out the intact clothes and walked over. Chen Xingdong excitedly stepped forward to greet Ji Chang's regardless of the dust. He looked at Ji Chang's as if he were looking at a big treasure. Classmate Ji Chang's. You can stay. Stay in our country. The country will not treat you badly. 3 roommates. Oh my God, this is the Ministry of National Defense. Nagasawa can actually stay in the Ministry of National Defense. You must agree. It's great, great, even if they don't come in and your roommates and friends come in, they can still brag about it outside. Chen Xingdong didn't think Ji Chang's would refuse to agree, but he couldn't wait to introduce the benefits of the Ministry of State. Our Ministry of State is directly under the instructions of the top leader. It has many benefits and is extremely safe. Except for the staff, there are no mosquitoes. Can't let it in. I do not want. Ji Chang's iconic cold voice broke Chen Xingdong's excitement. 3 roommates. Chen Xingdong. Why? We are a national department. Then, he saw the young man in front of him who was wearing a mask but still had a handsome face and said calmly. Because my mother can't come in. She's going to take care of me. The 3 roommates behind him. Yes. I almost forgot, Nagasawa is a giant baby, comma. Everyone knows I'm a good man. Author, Tang Zhonmao. Chapter 27. Qin Xinlian went out early in the morning when it was just dawn. Last night, her son was not at home to rest, so she took an order to clean her employer's house. She kept cleaning until 11:30 p.m. before coming back. She went home to wash herself before falling asleep after 12 p.m. Now she got up so early and felt sleepy. I had to yawn a lot. But even so, she had to work hard to stay awake. After all, today's task is to cook at an employer's house. What if the employer sees her yawning and gives her a negative review? Qin Xinlian took out her mobile phone and struggled to read clearly the dishes and prices her employer wanted to eat today. As soon as she finished reading, her mobile phone ran out of power and shut down. Fortunately, she had already remembered what vegetables she wanted to buy, and went with the vegetable basket. Vegetable market. Nannies like them, who are calculated on an hourly basis, all take orders on the app. For example, when Qin Xinlian received this cooking order, the employer would send the menu in advance, and the app would automatically determine how much it would cost to complete the meal. After giving money, Qin Xinlian took the money to buy groceries. She chose a nearby high-quality and low-priced vegetable market. She was carefully selecting vegetables when she heard someone call her from behind. Sister Qin, come to buy groceries. Qin Xinlian turned around and saw several neighbors who lived near the rental house. They all had vegetable baskets in their hands, and they were obviously going out to buy vegetables together. She is so busy every day that she has no time to chat with her neighbors. It has been so long since she moved here, and she is only familiar with them and knows each other by one name. Everyone met and just said hello to each other. Yes, you are here to buy groceries too. Qin Xinlian responded with a smile. The neighbors all smiled and nodded, and went to the other side together. They gossiped quietly to each other. Is her son the same boy as last time? He's tall and quite handsome. That's her son. Hey, you said Sister Qin has such a good temper and is easy to talk to. Why did she give birth to a son with such a tough temperament? The last time they met us, she didn't even call her aunt, and just walked away with a cold face. Let me tell you, my daughter and Sister Qin's son are from the same school. The last time I came back, she told me that Sister Qin's son is a giant baby. Do you know what a giant baby is? He just doesn't do anything. He just comes with clothes and food. Open mouth. When she said this, several aunts laughed. What's this? Aren't all young people today like this? My girl, I asked her to sweep the floor and she still procrastinated. She plays with her mobile phone every day, saying that I'm not happy with 2 sentences. That's right, the same goes for my kid. If you ask me, he was just used to it. Look at how much hardship we endured when we were young. The aunt who said Ji Chang's was a giant baby waved her hands and lowered her voice a little lower. The giant baby my daughter is talking about is much more serious than what you are talking about. She doesn't even have the ability to take care of herself at all. Those juniors who don't work are all lazy. She doesn't like to work. Sister Chin's son can't even fold a quilt. My daughter said that it was mentioned on all the forums. Sister Chin's son was admitted to college. Sister Chin came here to take care of him. Look at how hard she works every day. She leaves early and comes home late. She has never seen her son. I helped you once, tisk tisk, now I have a son who is here to collect debts. Ah. You're such a big kid, and you still have to follow her when you go to college. I thought Sister Chin was looking for a job. Why are you looking for a job? Prices in the capital are so high. The rent is even more than Sister Chin's salary. Otherwise, why do you think she has been working so hard? Her son is still asking her for money. He wears his own clothes and looks at his old man. Mom endures hardship. I don't think Sister Chin will be able to enjoy the blessings of her son in the future. Several people nodded and confirmed, this child is useless. He is so old and can't even fold a quilt. Yeah, I don't know what Sister Chin will do when she gets old and can't work anymore. This child is like this now, so she won't eat her old age in the future. Chin Xinlian happened to be walking over there and heard these two words. She looked stunned and clenched the vegetable basket in her hand. Sister Chin. The person who said this had just finished sighing and turned around when he saw her and chatted with her for a moment. Chin Xinlian forced a smile. It's not that my parents don't fold quilts, but that they have to study and don't have time to do these things. I felt sorry for him, so I did it for him. Yes, my girl is the same. She never makes quilts. The same goes for my boys. Young people today are all the same. Several people quickly started to answer the call, but no matter how hard they tried to answer the call, the atmosphere still became awkward. Chin Xinlian didn't try to smooth things over with a smile like before. She is soft-tempered, but her son is her rival. Just now they talked about Nagasawa in such a derogatory tone. Chin Xinlian still felt a little unhappy. Several people also knew that she was unhappy, and they were too embarrassed to reconcile. After all, we are all mothers, and we all know that no matter how bad our children are, hearing others belittle them will definitely not make them feel any better. It was a coincidence that they went out together when they went out. Chin Xinlian was holding the basket and was thinking about sending a text message to her son later to ask him if he wanted to come back for dinner in the evening. Nagasawa seems to be very busy recently. When he comes back occasionally, he will eat and leave in a hurry. But last time, the child was obviously very happy, but he still had to wear a cold and indifferent face, with a little bit of pride. Told her that what he was working on recently was about to succeed. When a mother looks at her son, it doesn't matter how she looks at him. In Chin Xinlian's opinion, Nagasawa's pride was simply adorable. In particular, Nagasawa is always cold to others, but at home, he always needs to be taken care of like a child. And this child also said that when he succeeds, he will have money to support her. Chin Xinlian doesn't think her son can really make money. After all, he is still a student. Even if he makes money, how much can he make? But this did not prevent her from encouraging her son with a look of trust. If Nagasawa has this kind of heart, she is already very happy. Thinking of her son, Chin Xinlian's heart softened. She was thinking about what kind of soup to make for her son when he came back in the evening to help him replenish his health, when she suddenly heard a small discussion among some neighbors nearby. That seems to be a military vehicle, right? Yes, look, there are soldiers standing next to us. There are so many soldiers. Why is there such a big formation? They seem to be waiting for someone. Are they carrying guns? I'll take a picture and show it to my girl. She likes to see this. We're not in a hurry anyway, why don't we just watch the excitement? What happened to such a big battle? Someone else pulled Chin Xinlian's arm. Sister Chin, look, there are many soldiers in front of our alley entrance. Perhaps because she was too busy at work, Qin Xinlian was not very interested in these gossips and looked up casually. It is indeed a big battle. There were 3 military vehicles, and a row of soldiers with guns stood beside them, all of them looking ahead with solemn faces. There were many people watching curiously. Now is the time of peace. Generally speaking, when everyone sees this kind of scene, they can only think of one thing: bank/transport banknotes. Qin Xinlian lost interest after just one glance, and was about to leave with the basket in hand. However, a man in military uniform just came out of their alley and was making a call on his mobile phone. Suddenly he saw this place, his eyes lit up, and he strode straight away. Walked towards her. "Hello, is this Ms. Qin Xinlian Qin?" Qin Xinlian originally saw him walking towards her and thought it was just a coincidence. However, this man in military uniform actually stood in front of her and gave her a military salute. Qin Xinlian was stunned. She had a confused face and nodded subconsciously, looking a little timid. "Yes, I am, what do you want to see me for?" Seeing that she said yes, Chen Xingdong breathed a sigh of relief. Just now he knocked on the door of Ji Chang's house, but no one answered and the phone couldn't be reached. He was a little worried that he wouldn't be able to take the person back quickly, but he didn't expect to see Qin Xinlian as soon as he came out. "Ms. Qin, your son wants to see you, could you please come with us?" "My son?" Qin Xinlian was even more confused. In such a big battle, her son? Look at the soldier in front of him again, still carrying a gun. This scene really made Qin Xinlian think too much. She panicked all of a sudden. "Comrade police, what happened to my son? Something happened to him. What happened to him?" The neighbors were looking around curiously, but now seeing Qin Xinlian's anxious and panic-stricken face, they quickly stepped forward to help talk. "Comrade, Sister Qin's son is only in his early 20s and is still a young man. Are you looking for the wrong person?" "Yes, this child is in school and stays in school every day." "You must have found the wrong child." Chen Xingdong was a little dumbfounded. Seeing that Qin Xinlian's eyes were filled with tears, he quickly explained. "No, Ms. Qin, you misunderstood. Classmate Ji Chang's is now working in our Ministry of National Defense. Although he hasn't agreed yet, but thinking that after the big bosses knew that this technology really existed, they directly issued a death order and had to keep people in the Ministry of National Defense. It didn't matter if they told him in advance." Chen Xingdong continued, "After all, classmate Ji Chang's is still young and somewhat dependent on his mother. He made a request to us and wanted you to stay in the Ministry of National Education. Considering that he was indeed young, the superiors approved it. This time, I'm here to pick you up. In fact, it would be better for Ji Chang's to pick up people by himself, but because this technology is so unbelievable, the previous online video has been circulated again, and the people above are still worried about whether there will be any problems if Ji Chang's appears in the outside world at this time. As the saying goes, outsiders watch the excitement, while insiders watch the door. For those who don't understand the video, they think it's so awesome and awesome, it's simply unbelievable. And when people who know it look at it, 99% of them will say, it is definitely fake. After all, this is simply not heaven-defying, it is simply impossible. Blasting it into ashes is no longer something that can be achieved with current technology. It must also be blasted into ashes without damaging the objects below. This cannot be explained at all by the knowledge they have learned. Even in TV dramas, I wouldn't dare to act like this. But Ji Chang's really did it? Don't think that when Chen Xingdong and the others went to the school dormitory, there was a big fight. That was because the higher UPS thought that 99% of it was fake and didn't take it seriously. This is now confirmed to be true. It is no exaggeration to say that it directly caused a sensation in the entire country, even the top leaders. Now the teachers, classmates, friends, and parents around Ji Chang's have all quickly conducted various investigations. His family situation, academic performance from childhood to adulthood, and everyone's evaluation have also been put on the table above. When Chen Xingdong and others came to pick up Qin Xinlian, soldiers had already rushed to Ji's hometown to protect his grandparents. Exaggeration? No exaggeration. After all, this technology is so incredible. Ji Chang's, on the other hand, directly came to a conclusion after communicating with the big guys who were obsessed with research. I don't know how this little classmate's brain has grown. Even though he is young, he is stronger than all of them combined. Chen Xingdong, who likes reading novels in his spare time, couldn't help but think of the super intelligent talents he once thought could only appear in novels. I never thought that it would happen in reality. Everyone was excited, feeling that they had discovered such a monster genius like Ji Chang's. But here comes the problem. Ji Chang's, who had been up all day and all night, refused to sleep. He just sat on the edge of the bed and read a book, paying no attention to anyone. His 3 roommates were all so tired that they fell asleep. His face was obviously sleepy, and his eyes were so dazzled that he couldn't open them, but he still couldn't. Refuses to sleep. Everyone was afraid that something would go wrong with this precious egg, so they took turns trying to persuade her. But Ji Chang's just said, "I want my mother." Chen Xingdong led the people out without stopping. Although the big guys determined that even if other countries saw the video, they would not take it seriously. But he still honestly brought people, guns, and bulletproof vehicles. Such a precious egg and its family must be extremely cautious. Chen Xingdong, we also called you on the way here, but your mobile phone showed that it was turned off, so we had to come directly to your home. Qin Xinlian looked in a daze, nodded confusedly, and answered as if she was sleepwalking, yes, my phone was turned off in the morning. She was still confused. Nagasawa, have you entered the Ministry of National Defense? Although she didn't know what department this was, there was a country ahead. This is a national department. She felt that she should be excited, but she felt empty in her heart. Qin Xinlian even had the thought, this is not a dream. Otherwise, why would Nagasawa have already entered the Ministry of National Education before he graduated? A liar? But a liar wouldn't be so bold as to drive a military vehicle, wear a military uniform and carry a gun. But how is this possible? The neighbors have already asked Qin Xinlian. No way. Is the child still in school? Chen Xingdong looked serious. Yes, classmate Ji Chang's developed a robot, so he made an exception and entered our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Qin Xinlian's eyes lit up. Yes, Nagasawa seems to have been working on some kind of robot in the past 2 months and wants to participate in the competition. Yes, it's this robot. Well, if you don't believe it, I'll call classmate Ji Chang's and ask him to tell you. After he finished speaking, Malu called, and as soon as he answered, he said, Captain, no, he still won't sleep. I know. Give him your phone and tell him that we have come to pick up his mother. After Chen Xingdong finished speaking, he handed the phone to Qin Xinlian. Over there, Ji Chang's was sitting on the bed reading a book. He was flipping through the book page by page at a speed of 10 seconds. Several people were crowded outside the window, observing him carefully. You think, why is this child not sleeping? The children who came with him had already fallen asleep. They were snoring when I went there. It sounded like they were tired. That's weird. Logically speaking, the kid should be sleepy because of what they did together. Who said he's not sleepy anymore? Look at his eyes, you can't even open them. It's pitiful. The movement of turning the book is 2 seconds slower than before. This child is obviously sleepy, so why doesn't he sleep? An old man thought for a while and said with certainty, isn't it said that he has a very high IQ? He also has a good memory and is a genius. Maybe geniuses are so different. Have you ever seen a country that recruits geniuses who still need their mother to accompany them? He is still young. He is still a child. Why can't he have a mother? Besides, is there any conflict between being a genius and having a mother? What's going on? He's been staying awake all this time, just because his mother isn't here. An old man made a decent analysis. I think his brain activity is much higher than ours. If he doesn't sleep, it must be because he is still absorbing knowledge. Maybe it's because of nervousness. I think it's because he is simulating various experiments in his mind. I heard that a genius kid abroad often does this. It's not impossible. The windows were soundproof and bulletproof, so Ji Chang's in the room couldn't hear what they said. He quickly finished reading the book in his hand and put it aside expressionlessly. A soldier standing next to him immediately took another book and handed it to him. Then he tried to soften his voice and persuaded, "Classmate, it's time for you to go to bed. Why don't you go to bed? When you wake up, you can read as many books as you want." Ji Chang's looked back at the bed. Frowning slightly, he turned his head and stretched out his hand, saying in a cold voice, "I want my mother." Soldier. He also looked at the bed. The welfare benefits of their national department have always been very good, and Ji Chang's, the precious egg, was directly placed in the best room. The big soft bed has both hard and soft pillows. Even if you like a pillow made of bamboo, just tell him and they can get it for Ji Chang's right away. The 4-piece quilt set for the bed is also the best. The quilt was folded neatly, like a typical tofu block. Such a good sleeping environment. This little classmate is obviously so sleepy. Why doesn't he sleep? He was worried that something might happen to Ji Chang's, who had just been defined as a baby egg, if he stayed awake so hard, so he tried hard to persuade him. These quilts and the padding underneath are all brand new, and the 4-piece set is also new. They were specially dried before being delivered. They are warm and very comfortable to sleep on. Ji Chang's, I want my mother. Soldier. This precious egg is so difficult to handle. It happened that the call came at this time. His eyes lit up and he quickly picked it up. After answering, he gave the phone to Ji Chang's. Ji Chang's answered the phone, and Qin Xinlian's voice came from the other side. "Chang's, there is a policeman here." No, there is a military comrade who said that you are now in the Ministry of National Defense and asked me to come too. Yes, isn't it true? Ji Chang's, really? Mom, when will you come over? Qin Xinlian looked at Chen Xingdong, who quickly said, less than half an hour. Qin Xinlian, this comrade said it would take less than half an hour. Ji Chang's nodded, I'm sleepy, please hurry up. He hung up the phone, and the soldier who was standing next to him and guarding him quickly answered, classmate, why don't you just go to bed when you feel sleepy? Your body can't stand it without sleep. Ji Chang's ignored him. Lowered his head and continued reading. Soldier. Don't be angry, don't be angry. This is a precious egg. Qin Xinlian was reassured that her son was indeed safe and sound. He also nodded and agreed to go. She followed the soldier and got into the car almost protected. When she got in the car, Qin Xinlian always felt that everyone was looking at her. In the past, Qin Xinlian must have felt uncomfortable all over, wondering if there was something wrong with her body, or if her clothes were worn inside out. But now, thinking about what Chen Xingdong said just now, she felt only full of pride in her heart. Her family has made great achievements. She also needs to be taken to the Ministry of National Defense. Who said her Nagasawa was a giant baby? She has a virtuous family and is obviously very promising. There were so many people outside just now, so it was hard for Chen Xingdong to go into too much detail. When he got in the car, he told the truth about Ji Chang's refusal to sleep and his mother. Qin Xinlian felt heartbroken when she heard that her son had not slept for so long. Then, did he say why he didn't sleep? How could he not sleep? Although she herself often stayed up all night for work and went to work the next day as if nothing had happened, there were some things that she didn't care about when it came to her own children, but she felt distressed no matter how much she thought about them. Chen Xingdong shook his head. He only wants the book and you. No matter how we ask about the rest, he won't say anything. Qin Xinlian nodded. Yes, Nagasawa is like this. He doesn't like to talk. Sometimes even when I talk to him, he ignores me. She had even wondered before whether her son disliked her and didn't want to talk to her, so he ignored her like this. Chen Xingdong, his roommate, said that this is normal, saying that classmate Ji Chang's has his own set of judgment standards in his mind. If he judges that communicating with others is a waste of time, he will not communicate with others unless others say something he thinks is important. Will take the initiative to communicate. Qin Xinlian suddenly realized. So this is She misunderstood Nagasawa again. Chen Xingdong also thought it was amazing, but when he thought that Ji Chang's was a super genius, he felt that he could not measure him in the same way as ordinary people. What a genius! They're all weird, but they're all special. He said, anyway, I hope you can comfort him when you arrive and let him fall asleep as soon as possible. Being without sleep for such a long time is not good for the human body. And that precious brain, don't let it get damaged again. Qin Xinlian nodded quickly and agreed. But at the same time, I was also very strange. Why didn't Nagasawa sleep? The few skinny old men who carefully observed Ji Chang's outside the glass were also surprised by this question. Why isn't he sleeping yet? Such a smart head, don't let it get to you. I see that the young man next to him is almost crying. This kid just won't sleep. What's going on? Several people thought about it and came up with several answers that they thought were very likely. He must be doing all kinds of interpretations in his head. Maybe it's because I stayed up for a long time and couldn't sleep. Maybe this is his way of life, sleeping only once every 2 days. Isn't there an example abroad before? I think there are too many things in his mind, so he can't rest at all. Didn't he yawn a few times without even noticing? While they were talking, Chen Xingdong came with Qin Xinlian. They opened the door and went in. Qin Xinlian's face was originally full of worry, but when she saw the scene inside the house, she immediately relaxed. When Ji Chang saw her coming, a faint smile appeared on his expressionless face, and he shouted, "Mom, I want to sleep." Chen Xingdong. Soldier. It's as if they don't let him sleep. Chen Xingdong quickly explained, Ms. Qin, it's not that we don't let him sleep. You saw it too. This man was brought to the bedside, but he just won't sleep. Look, what can you do? A relaxed smile appeared on Qin Xinlian's face. I know what's going on. Don't worry, Captain Chen. She stepped forward, put down the square bedding, and spread it out. Put the pillows in place again. He turned to his son and smiled, Nagaze, come and sleep. Chen Xingdong watched helplessly as Ji Chang's, who had been stubbornly refusing to sleep, actually took off his shoes obediently, got into bed, lay down on the pillow and closed his eyes. Qin Xinlian helped him tuck the four corners of the quilt again. In just a few seconds, Ji Chang's expression calmed down, his breathing slowed down, and he was obviously fast asleep. Chen Xingdong, the soldier responsible for protecting the company and urging Ji Chang's to sleep. What's going on? They tried so many methods to no avail. Why did this guy fall asleep obediently as soon as Ji Chang's mother came? Ji Chang's was fast asleep. The three of them did not dare to disturb him, so they all went out quietly. As soon as he went out, the old men came up to him with curiosity on their faces. What's going on? Why on earth does this little classmate refuse to sleep? I fell asleep as soon as my mother came. Is it because you rely too much on your mother? Yes, it's possible. He had always wanted his mother before, and would not stay and work in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs unless she gave her. Several pairs of eyes were staring at Qin Xinlian, waiting for an answer. After all, it's because my brain is so smart that it's so overburdened that I can't sleep. Still nervous when arriving in a strange place, I need to be comforted by my mother. Or maybe you are too thirsty for knowledge and want to read books crazily. Qin Xinlian felt a little embarrassed when they looked at her like this. She coughed dryly, feeling too embarrassed to speak directly about her son's shortcomings, so she said dryly and vaguely. In the past, at home, he would sleep after I laid out the quilt for him before going to bed. He never folded the quilt at school, so he slept well all the time. But the quilt you gave him was folded. That's all he did. Several people. What is the logic? Because of a quilt. After folding it, just put it down again. Seeing that they all had black question mark faces, Qin Xinlian felt even more embarrassed. She was a little embarrassed, but she still said. Nagaze, he doesn't know how to fold or spread a quilt. So if you give him a folded quilt, he won't be able to sleep no matter how much he wants to. Everyone. Chen Xingdong looked dazed, but felt that it was a bit natural. There are such strange things in this world. This genius who shocked the entire country, if this matter is announced, will definitely cause a sensation in the entire world. He is sleepy, but not sleeping. It's because, I don't know how to make a quilt. God gave him an IQ that could really reach the heavens, but also gave him a hands-on ability as good as a dog's gnawing. Maybe, this is genius. Everyone knows I'm a good man. Author, Tan Zhong Mao. Chapter 28. Ji Chang slept extremely comfortably. I slept directly from one day to the next day. During this period, everyone discovered that he had not woken up, and nervously called the doctor to see him. They all relaxed after they found that he was really just sleeping and not in a coma. And when he woke up, he received all-around caring care. Woke up. The young soldier responsible for taking care of him found out that Ji Chang's was awake within a second, and rang the bell directly to order breakfast. Eggs, peeled. Chopsticks, placed on top of the bowl. Even the shrimps are peeled. It was obviously breakfast, but it was extremely rich. Ji Chang's didn't have any objections to the sumptuous breakfast. When there was food, he ate it. After eating comfortably, the soldier stood aside and took a small notebook to write down what Ji Chang's liked to eat and what he didn't like to eat. These meals are a mixture of Qin Xinlian's food, their cafeteria aunt's food, and the cafeteria master chef's food. In short, everything is the specialty of 3 people. After his observation, Ji Chang's ate everything, didn't pick anything, and didn't show any special likes or dislikes for any dish. The soldier wrote down the item "You don't have to have the meals cooked by your mother" under the notebook. He opened the book again and looked at the bottom. There were various Ji Chang's observation guides written underneath. Contributed by 3 roommates from 301. The various habits of Ji Chang's are written in detail above. For example, before getting up in the morning and eating breakfast, his brain seems to have a unique set of thinking rules. Talking to him at this time usually does not get much response. In the past, they all thought it was because they were angry when they woke up, and they were even angry about it. They thought that everyone was just roommates and they just woke up, so why should I tolerate you and so on. But now, they all understand. What kind of anger is this? It's clearly morning thinking time from a genius. If Ji Chang's knew what was written on it, he would definitely add something in his mind. Yes, just wake up angry. But it doesn't matter that they all think this is a unique habit of his genius. He doesn't mind, shows hands. The soldier waited until he finished eating and made sure to put down his chopsticks. Then he carefully looked into Ji Chang's eyes and made sure that his eyes were clear before he started talking about business. "Hello, Comrade Ji Chang's, I am Zhang Xing, who is responsible for your safety. From now on, you can ask me for anything you want. Your 3 meals a day will be delivered by someone." He thought for a while and added, "I will make and spread your bed from now on. Please don't worry, I will definitely take good care of you." After what happened yesterday, he specially set several alarms for himself, just to fold the quilt for Ji Chang's who wanted to sleep but couldn't fold the quilt every night. After a day of discussion and research yesterday, everyone has almost understood it. This talented little classmate may be too smart. His brain will only automatically store things that require knowledge, and he has no other life skills at all. Of course, because he needs to go to school, he can still dress himself. But other things, such as folding quilts and spreading quilts, are defined by him as useless skills. Even if he is smart enough to learn it quickly and do it best in less than a second, he will not learn these things to occupy his own time. Brain space. Sure enough, baby Dan's brain is different from others. This is like forcibly reorganizing my brain into the C drive. Moreover, he is still the kind of CP who automatically reduces communication time in order to make more space. It remains to be verified whether he can really delete the information in his brain like a CP. After all, his mother Qin Xinlian said that when she first came to the capital, she went to work as a helper at a construction site and happened to meet Ji Chang's and other classmates while eating. Ji Chang's did not recognize her at all at that time. She believes that this may be because she had her hair tied up and wore a hat, so Ji Chang's cognitive ability was also marked with an X number. Ji Chang's looked at him silently. After what happened yesterday, Zhang Xing already knew how unique the genius in front of him was. He calmly asked, "Are you thirsty?" "Ji Chang's, I'm thirsty." "Drink water." "Ji Chang's, I won't drink." Zhang Xing nodded, turned around, poured water, inserted the sterilized straw that was prepared urgently last night, and was of absolutely high quality. After making sure that the water temperature was okay, he handed it to Ji Chang's mouth. Ji Chang's looked at him silently. Then he reached out and took the cup, holding the straw in his mouth and drank. Zhang Xing immediately wrote down in his notebook, "Comrade Ji Chang's likes to drink water by himself." Then next time he can just hand the water glass to his hand. After Ji Chang's drank the water, he asked, "Where is my mother?" "Please don't worry, we have arranged Ms. Jean in the family area. If you want to see her, I can send you there at any time." Zhang Xing asked seriously, "Excuse me, do you have time now? Can you allow me to tell you about your future living arrangements?" Of course he knew that Ji Chang's must have time now. But it's not certain whether Baby Egg's head has time. After all, this was the first time they discovered a genius like Ji Chang's, coupled with his unique acting style and various suffocating operations. A precious egg that is so different from ordinary people. Maybe it's like what Wan Lao said. Sometimes people think he is expressionless and in a daze, but in fact his brain is performing various calculations, or thinking about things that others would never think of. When Ji Chang's nodded, Zhang Xing told him all the living arrangements given to him by the Ministry of National Defense. If Ji Chang's were an ordinary giant baby, then his family and those around him may have to worry. For ordinary people, this is definitely a troublesome matter. But now, Ji Chang's is from the Ministry of National Defense. Giant baby. Little things. You have made such a contribution to the country and shown a new field. Don't say you are a giant baby, even if you are a real baby, the country will definitely take good care of you. If Ji Chang's needs someone to feed him food and wear clothes, the country then arranged for people to feed and clothe him. Forget about spreading a quilt. It's no problem to make 100 quilts every day. Zhang Xing's detailed description of living arrangements is just one sentence. Whatever you want, we will give you. Absolutely. Even if you want the moon in the sky, we can get you a little bit of material from the moon. Otherwise, an astronomical telescope can also be used. Anyway, as long as you have a request, we will definitely handle it for you. From now on, we will bring your food to your mouth. If you want to drink water, I will insert a straw for you. Us. Just a professional nanny, bah. Professional caregivers. Ji Chang's listened to what he said and nodded in understanding. Do you really want anything you want? Jiang Xing felt quite proud of I am a nanny for the country and raised his chest and raised his head, yes. Ji Chang's glanced at him suspiciously, I want a book that is not available on the market. Jiang Xing read the title of the book, Arrangement. Ji Chang's, I want money. My monthly salary cannot be less than 5,000. Jiang Xing. Boss, you underestimate yourself too much. He explained, you are not short of money now. As long as it is not excessive, any country you want will buy it for you. Ji Chang's nodded and expressed his understanding, I don't want my mother to work hard. Jiang Xing, arrange. Ji Chang's, I also want #UN% and #UN% of these materials. Jiang Xing, arrange. Ji Chang's, I want a girlfriend. Jiang Xing, an girlfriend. Well, this. He smiled coquettishly, Comrade Nagasawa, the state does not allow the allocation of girlfriends yet. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Everyone knows I'm a good man. Author, Tang Zhongmao. Chapter 29. Ji Chang's request to see Qi Yishu was easily satisfied. But the problem is that Qi Yishu is just a student who has not graduated yet, and his major is not suitable for working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. After all, someone like Qin Xinlian, although she has no academic qualifications, has a son and is well equipped for everything. With her son by her side, she doesn't have to work hard and can chat with the family members in the family home. This life is already a happy one for Qin Xinlian. Of heaven. But Qi Yishu is different. At a young age, he relied on his own efforts to get into this university. Although he will definitely not be as cheating as Ji Chang's in the future, it will not be much different. If she came to the Ministry of National Security, it would be fine for her in the short term, but that would be absolutely unrealistic in the long term. After Jiang Xing figured out the situation, he immediately combined it with reality and told Ji Chang so and so earnestly. Ji Chang's raised his eyes and nodded, then I can just go back to school. Jiang Xing. Well, Comrade Nagasawa, it's a bit unrealistic for you to go back to school now. He once again painstakingly explained the current situation to Ji Chang's in detail. The general meaning is as follows. You are a big baby. The 301 you developed is also a big treasure. Now your security level is, without exaggeration, the highest level. Even if you are in the Ministry of National Security, we will protect you on 3 levels, inside and outside, to ensure that you will never be exposed to even a little bit of damage. External harm. And didn't you say you also want to develop #UN and #UN*? Although your school is very good in all aspects, it is not as good as the one from our country. If so, just say yes. If you go out and something happens, it will not only be you who will lose, but also the whole country. Jiang Xing's words were patient and serious. After he finished speaking, he looked at Ji Chang's, who still had a calm expression on his face. He didn't know if this precious boy understood. Ji Chang's, so what you're saying is that I can only stay here because I'm afraid something will happen to me outside. Jiang Xing. It sounds like he is in jail. No. Must be an illusion. He nodded and said that the previous 301 video was directly known to the whole country. A big tree attracts trouble. No one knows whether someone or some kind of force will do something to Ji Chang's and the others. After Jiang Xing finished speaking, he was originally prepared to respond to Ji Chang's questions or questioning, but he continued to lower his head and read. And he also told him that in this case, there was no need to call him Qi Yishu for the time being. Jiang Xing. Genius is genius, and falling in love is so different. Because of the fact that Bao Dan's request could not be fulfilled, Jiang Xing was very worried about Ji Chang's negative emotions. After all, the people above were handed over to him, and to the heavily armed brothers behind him, Ji Chang's was their responsibility. This person's treasure level and special level, giant baby, made Jiang Xing ready to care for him in all aspects from the beginning. Whether it's physical or mental, as long as it's your baby's egg, it must come first. So, in the next few days, Jiang Xing kept paying close attention to Ji Chang's nervously. However, Ji Chang's didn't show anything unusual at all. I still get up on time every day, eat, read a book, and then go out to perfect the weapon they named Sui Mi with Wan Lao and the others. It is said that the name Sui Mi was suggested by Ji Chang's roommate Zheng Qinghui, which means that even years can be wiped out. Well, it's a very Zhuang Bi name. According to him, he just said it casually. As a result, after Ji Chang's heard it, he thought it sounded good, and he had the right to name it. Therefore, such a tall and elegant weapon has the name of such a system of cultivating immortals. Even after everyone studied it, they found that Sui Mi cannot be used for military research at all because the killing range is a bit small. Even Ji Chang's himself couldn't improve. He originally made Sui Mi for the auxiliary function of 301. Regarding the range, Ji Chang said, 301 has grown legs. It can run after its target. Therefore, he never considered the range. But even this is enough for Wan Lao and the others to find a treasure. The emergence of Sui Ming is equivalent to making the impossible possible. After the research of these big guys, Ji Chang's security level has been improved again. Jiang Xing follows Ji Chang's almost 24 hours a day. Even when he sleeps at night, he sleeps in the room next to Ji Chang's. Outside, there are definitely people with weapons and fully armed standing guard 24 hours a day. The country's caution is not just talk. Even in the Ministry of National Defense, which is protected at all levels, one must be extremely cautious. Zheng Qinghui and the others also stayed in the Ministry of National Defense. In fact, their own knowledge is not enough to stay here, but taking into account Ji Chang's age and the previous incident of wanting a mother, in order to give him perfect care, after consulting the three people's opinions, the three of them officially became people from the Ministry of National Defense. These three are crazy. Ministry of State. This is the Ministry of National Defense. Anyone in their major would dream of joining it. Of course, because the Ministry of State is notoriously demanding, they can only dream. But now, suddenly a pie from the sky fell on them. Inexplicably, they entered the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the light of their roommates. And since I was still working with Ji Chang's, there was nothing unaccustomed to joining the job. As long as I worked with Ji Chang's and studied at the same time, just like I did in school. The three of them were extremely excited. However, in the presence of the boss, they all held their breath and did not dare to say a word. It wasn't until the big guys finished discussing with Ji Chang's that they all left the laboratory with excited faces that they relaxed and started discussing happily. If I tell my parents about this, they will definitely think I'm joking. No, I'm too happy. How long will it take for us to be able to contact the outside world? There was an order from above that no one in the base could contact the outside world until Sui Mi had a thorough investigation. Although according to Ji Chang's inference, it only took a few days, the three of them still couldn't wait to share the joy with their families. Zheng Qinghui is the most beautiful one. After all, there were 4 people in the dormitory, and he was the only one who got in through hard work. And now, he, Zheng Qinghui, entered the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ha 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 ha. Chen Yueyang and Zhang Zijun were also very excited. The three of them were laughing and joking for a few seconds before Zheng Qinghui realized that Ji Chang's was not happy at all. Although he knew that he always looked expressionless, he always felt that Ji Chang's was a little distressed. "Nagaze, what's wrong with you?" Ji Chang's didn't hide it and said directly, "My girlfriend can't come in." "Oh, about this, why don't you just go out? I remember that someone here also applied to work at home. The welfare benefits from the Ministry of National Defense are absolutely awesome." Ji Chang's, Zhang Xing said, "I might be in danger if I go out." Chen Yueyang was surprised. What danger could there be? Our country is famously safe, and you are such a homebody. Zheng Qinghui understood immediately and patted Ji Chang's on the shoulder, with a proud look on his face. "You don't know this now, we in Chang's are almost like giant pandas now. Have you ever seen giant pandas running all over the street? Even if they are wild, pandas are also protected. Nagasawa's brain is more panda-like than pandas, and the country must protect him. Besides, based on my many years of experience watching TV series and movies, for an outstanding person like him, if some foreign forces don't want him to develop good things for our country, and then send killers, bang. Zhang Zijun, isn't that too exaggerated?" "It's not an exaggeration, it's not an exaggeration. It's always right to be careful about this kind of thing." Zhang Qinghui patted Ji Chang's shoulder again and sighed, "It's just a pity that we, Changs, are in love and can't see each other often. Speaking of which, it's really a bit sympathetic. Being too good is not a good thing. Look at them, wait until the end of the year is over. In the past few days, whenever they want to go home, they can just ask for leave. How cool. Ji Chang's, we can meet often." Zheng Qinghui, huh? He quoted Zhang Xing's words, "Yishu can apply to see me at any time, and I can report it at any time. As long as you have someone with you, it'll be fine." Zheng Qinghui didn't understand. "Then why are you unhappy about seeing each other more often? Isn't it nice?" Then he heard Ji Chang say, "I want to meet every day." Zheng Qinghui. Fortunately, he actually sympathized with Ji Chang's just now. He, a single dog, actually felt the sour smell of love. Ba ba ba. Knowing that it was not asking for something but not getting but wanting more, Zheng Qinghui immediately withdrew his sympathy. Even from the standpoint of being a single person, I even gloated a bit. Then there's nothing we can do about it? You're a giant panda. Nagasawa, it's okay. You see, our brothers are all single, so we're pretty good too." He added rather gloatingly, "In this way, you work hard, and learn from Wan Lao and the others. When the protective shield in the interstellar film is developed and comes out, when you look up, hey, it's so safe, maybe I'll agree to let you go out." Ji Chang's, protective shield. Yeah, haven't you seen the Interstellar movie? It's the kind where a transparent shield pops up immediately when attacked, automatically resisting the attack. It doesn't matter what lightsaber or laser. By the way, you never watch movies. Come on, let me show you. It's very fun. Can you make me a lightsaber like this one? It doesn't have to be effective. It can be retracted. It looks cool and is enough to bluff. As long as it's in person, I'll take it back to comfort my little nephew." Zhang Zijun saw Zheng Qinghui's words beaming with joy and couldn't help but raise his forehead. "Qinghui, don't tell Nagaze this, he will take it seriously. Have you forgotten the wings before?" Zheng Qinghui didn't take it seriously. He took out his mobile phone and found his favorite interstellar movie. He pulled up the protective shield section and showed it to Ji Chang's, while waving to Zhang Zijun. "It's okay. Unless Nagasawa cheats, he won't be able to make something like this in another 200 years. This is completely surreal, you know." Ji Chang's read this paragraph seriously. Then he nodded and agreed to the request to make a lightsaber for Zheng Qinghui to study. Zhuang Bi. Zheng Qinghui didn't take it seriously. Although Zhang Zijun and Chen Yueyang felt disgusted that he was leading a bad child, giant baby, they didn't take it to heart. A month later, Ji Chang's handed the completed lightsaber to Zheng Qinghui. What is this? Holding a bare sword hilt, Zheng Qinghui looked confused, turning it over and over in his hand to look at it. Ji Chang's, the lightsaber you want. Zheng Qinghui, oh, yes, no, Nagasawa, in the past month, Wan Lao and the others have been looking for you and you have been hiding in your laboratory. Are you doing this? What should I do if he feels guilty? Nagasawa actually delayed business for the sake of the toy he wanted. Fortunately, Wan Lao and the others didn't know. He quietly glanced at Zhang Xing, who was following Ji Chang's, and smiled. Chang's, I just said it casually. By the way, how do you play with this thing? The young man stepped forward, grasped the hilt of the sword and swung it out, and a short luminous stick was swung out. Ji Chang's held it in his hand and explained, this is fingerprint unlocking. Puff. Zheng Qinghui laughed unceremoniously. Nagasawa, is your lightsaber a little short? This is not a lightsaber, BISH0U is almost the same. Ji Chang's frowned slightly, looked down at the lightsaber in his hand, and said in a calm voice, I have tried many methods, but I can only extend it to this length. He was so serious that Zheng Qinghui felt a little embarrassed. He took the lightsaber and coughed, I just said casually, you don't have to be like this. By the way, is the material he makes strong? Will it break? It looks very bad, it's like crispy skin, did you put a light in it? It won't break. Ji Chang's knocked on the table, try using it? Really not. This is something you made, and I want to take it back and offer it as an offering. Zheng Qinghui said as he casually touched the table. When I touched it, I was still thinking, be sure not to break it. Boom. A large piece of the sturdy steel table was chipped off, and it hit the ground solidly. Zheng Qinghui. Is this really true? Zhang Xing reacted quickly, immediately drew his gun, and stood vigilantly in front of Ji Chang's. The soldiers outside also rushed in, surrounded them, and guarded Ji Chang's with a human wall vigilantly. Zheng Qinghui. Ji Chang's pushed past the human wall, walked out, and took the lightsaber under Zhang Xing's nervous gaze. He smiled lightly at Zheng Qinghui, although it is short, the effect is good. Zheng Qinghui. Why does it always feel like Nagasawa is laughing at him? No. How could Nagasawa laugh at him? Maybe Nagasawa didn't even have the word joke in his head. Zhang Xing looked at the lightsaber, still extremely vigilant, and stepped forward carefully. Nagaze, let me hold it, don't hurt yourself. Fine. Ji Chang's took it and gently poked his stomach under the horrified eyes of everyone. Nagasawa. Boom. Everyone only heard a sound in their ears. Looking up, he saw a ball standing where Ji Chang's was just now. A big round ball with round sides. The young man stood inside and smiled at them. This is a protective cover, made like clothes. It looks no different from ordinary clothes, but once it encounters damage, it will quickly pop up and wrap the human body. Current test results show that it can block any gun. Everyone. Zhang Xing was so frightened that he almost peed. Nagaze, I am with you every day, how come I don't know that you have taken a test? And where did you get the gun? He looked at the other soldiers suspiciously. Ji Chang's, I made it myself. It was made with laboratory materials and dismantled after the experiment. Zhang Xing, you fired, why didn't I hear any sound? Ji Chang's reached out his hand to the top of the ball, pressed something, and replied naturally, I did it. Zhang Xing. Zheng Qinghui, Nagaze, what are you doing? I'm opening up the TLC. Ji Chang's opened one layer of the ball and explained, I designed an eating opening for this protective cover, which is just enough to pass in a lunchbox. In addition to delivering food, we can also deliver water. I also designed a compartment here to store oxygen to ensure that people will not suffocate if they stay here for a long time. Jiang Xing felt like he was about to suffocate. So, what their precious egg means is that when encountering danger, such as a gunfight, Ji Chang's can stand in this ball and watch the gunfight, and he can also receive lunch boxes from outside and watch while eating. This is too strange. No, I can't say it's strange. This is the country's precious egg. Jiang Xing forced himself to show a smile of encouragement and appreciation on his face, and clapped his hands. Okay. This ball, no, this protective shield is really a good invention, safe. Others reacted and started to praise him too. Ji Chang showed a faint smile, closed the thin layer again, and continued to introduce, in addition, its resistance is also very good. As long as it pops up, even if the tank presses it down, it will remain intact. Jiang Xing nodded and smiled. That's great. But let me ask you, why does the tank press a ball? Jiang Xing suddenly came back to his senses from why should I praise a ball? It's not right. This ball is indeed a good thing. Think about it, there is a car accident, the person is in the ball, the car is in an accident, the person is safe and sound. If it falls into the water, the person is in the ball, and if the ball enters the water, it will float. Falling from a high altitude, the person is in the ball. Wait, there is nothing you can do if you fall from a high altitude, you will still die. He asked this question subconsciously. Ji Chang's nodded, so I also equipped this protective shield with high altitude protection. When it falls from high altitude, the protection will be upgraded. Jiang Xing was excited, would it be okay if you fell into the sky? Ji Chang's, at most, hemiplegia will occur, and the brain will be protected. Jiang Xing. It's okay, it's already good. Anyway, under normal circumstances, the probability of falling from high altitude is relatively low. Ji Chang's, it is also very cheap to make. I think it can be mass-produced. Jiang Xing, damn it. Such a good thing, the price is still so low. Ji Chang's, but what? Jiang Xing couldn't help but become nervous and looked at Ji Chang's inside the ball with a worried look. Ji Chang's, I will receive a commission on the money sold. Jiang Xing. He wanted to cover his face. Baby egg, you haven't figured it out yet, are you the country's baby egg? The country simply can't wait to hold you in the palm of its hand and worship you religiously for the rest of its life. Things like money are definitely indispensable. Zheng Qinghui patted the ball curiously. Nagaze, this ball, this protective cover, does it really have no shortcomings? Some. He saw everyone looking at him curiously. Ji Chang's poked the ball calmly. I forgot how the setting came out. Zheng Qinghui. Jiang Xing. Other people. Zheng Qinghui, so, you mean that your ball cannot be splashed with water, it is extremely hard, and cannot be opened by any method from the outside world. However, you have forgotten the method you designed. The young man nodded, as calm as ever, and opened the thin layer. It doesn't matter. Isn't there a lunchbox opening here? You won't starve to death. Zheng Qinghui. Is this a question of whether to starve to death? Is this it? The problem now is, Ji Chang's. The country's precious egg. He made an invention and trapped himself in it. The key is because he is the most awesome. There is a high probability that no one can let him out except himself. Jiang Xing was going crazy. He quickly took out the knife he had with him and cut it. Sure enough, it couldn't be cut no matter how hard it was cut. Nagaze, you said you were fine, what are you doing this? Quick, go find Captain Chen. Ji Chang stood calmly in the ball and looked at Zheng Qinghui silently. Zheng Qinghui. He covered his face and sighed in shame. I really will never say anything casually again. Everyone knows I'm a good man. Author, Tang Zhonmao. Chapter 30. Ji Chang's proved with his actions how much he needed people to take care of him. It also proved that he is a genius. Within a day, the people from the Ministry of National Defense tried all kinds of strength and weapons, but they failed to rescue Ji Chang's from the ball. This incident was so magical and funny that it even alarmed the top leaders. While he ordered the people to be rescued at all costs, he couldn't help but get excited. If this protective shield can be mass-produced as Ji Chang said, then the national casualty rate will be greatly reduced. Originally, according to the process, Ji Chang's made the protective shield and handed it over to the Ministry of State for approval. Then he combined the materials and then approved it. He did experiments to make sure that there was really no problem. Then he approved it. After making sure that there was no problem, he had to observe it for a while. In short, it will take at least half a year to complete the series of processes. But because Ji Chang's, this precious egg, trapped him, everyone tried every means to get him out, but to no avail, which directly alarmed the top leadership. The test that originally took less than half a year was completed in one day. Of course, no one would use something very dangerous like Yuuki Nagasawa's ball, but other methods would definitely be used. But if you say it's useless, it's just useless. Finally, when everyone was about to despair, thinking that their precious eggs would stay in this ball with their precious brains for the rest of their lives, Zheng Qinghui thought of the short lightsaber. He tentatively used his lightsaber to cut. It actually got cut open. At this moment, everyone was almost celebrating together like the Chinese New Year, and they just wanted to set off firecrackers. As for the culprit, Ji Chang's, after he came out, he took the broken body of his ball and went back to do experiments as if nothing had happened. Chen Xingdong chased after him and put his coat on him. That night, Ji Chang's figured out a way to get out. No one was willing to blame him. People are so strange. If a person who has always been honest suddenly does something wrong and causes trouble for everyone, then everyone will think that he is wrong. But if it were a giant baby who was regarded as a troublemaker and always needed people's attention, it would be normal for him to cause trouble. At most, he warned me softly, be careful next time and don't experiment on anything you make. This protective shield became famous because of this incident. Because the top leaders were also paying attention, the Ministry of State quickly tested it as quickly as possible. After confirming that there was no problem, mass production began under the instructions from above. Protective shield? Real or fake? Is today April Fool's Day? Are you kidding? How could there be such a magical thing? Could it be that just after I slept, our world merged with the second dimension? It's been mentioned in the news, but this protective shield is really not expensive. Although it can only be used once, if the effect is real, it will definitely be used to save lives. This is CCTV. Today is not April Fool's Day. You can't lie to us, right? Why don't you try to buy it? Chi Yishu walked in the school. No matter where he went, he could hear everyone discussing the protective shield. She was a little proud and couldn't help but puff up her chest and raise her head. Nagasawa even called her and told her that he had researched this. Such a powerful Nagasawa. Her boyfriend. After being happy, she opened the mobile forum, looked at the post that had been pushed into a high-rise building, and went to scold the person angrily. The school didn't hide the fact that Ji Chang's and the others were directly sucked into the Ministry of National Defense last time because they made the 301 robot. After all, the original formation was so big that they couldn't hide it even if they wanted to. It's better to tell the truth directly to avoid all kinds of rumors flying around the campus. As a result, the school said that he had entered the Ministry of National Education, but some people in the forum were still posting unfavorable remarks about Nagasawa. Otherwise, he must have shamelessly entered the room taking advantage of his roommate. Or just use the previous giant baby post to explain. Most of the people who eat melons feel that it has nothing to do with them, and they are not familiar with Ji Chang's, so they basically will not speak for him. It was okay to have Zheng Qinghui, who was particularly good at online beeping, but now only Qi Yishu was left. She was so angry that she could only use the most primitive method. Scold. Say something bad about my boyfriend. I'll curse you to death. While he was cursing vigorously, his cell phone rang. It was Qi Yishu's father's call. She answered it, and her father's voice came over there. Yishu, did you see the news? That protective shield, the protective shield that the country has agreed to, is for you and your mother. I bought 3 sets, one for you and your mother. The remaining 2 are sent to you. You have to wear them every day. I know you are pretty. Don't worry, you are not ugly. It's just a little vest for you to wear under it. Can't be seen. Qi Yishu nodded. I understand, Dad, you wear them every day too. She was thinking about buying a few sets to send back, but she didn't expect her parents to be quicker. Qi's father had no education, but he made a lot of money with the help of his time. Later, he got lucky and got into real estate. Basically, he made a steady profit and watched the news every day. He never expected it. In his lifetime, he could still see such a magical treasure as a protective shield. Dad Qi is uneducated, but he knows the truth. With such a treasure, how many people can avoid tragic death? Let's not talk about anything else. Just say it is a car accident, and that's all day by day. Yishu, you must wear clothes. By the way, have you eaten? The weather has changed recently. Is it cold? Your mother also sent you the thick clothes she bought for you. You must wear autumn clothes. Do you know the pants? This was Qi's father's daily chatter, and Qi Yishu just listened to it and responded with a few words from time to time. Dad Qi, are you tired from studying? Qi Yishu, I'm not tired, it's pretty good. Dad Qi, do you have enough money to spend? Can Dad give you some more money? Qi Yishu, it's quite a flower, it's quite a flower. Dad Qi, have you got a boyfriend? Qi Yishu, hand it in, he's very handsome. She suddenly reacted. Over there, Qi's father smiled proudly and winked at Qi's mother, who was watching TV. Look what I said. It exploded. Qi's mother became excited all of a sudden. She stopped watching TV and quickly grabbed her phone. Yishu, are you in love? Who is the boy? What is his name? How old is he? Is he in the same school as you? How long have you been talking about? What is he studying? By the way, you are not allowed to do that before marriage, you know. Qi Yishu covered his face helplessly. Mom, you ask so many questions, which one should I answer? Hey, if you can't answer it in one breath, why don't you come one by one? In this case, you first tell Mom, do you just want to fall in love, or do you want to get married in the future? Qi Yishu blushed. Ahem, she coughed a few times, and her voice rarely became shy. I want to get married, but we are still young, let's see. Marry. Qi's father, who had just smiled and said, hey, isn't this just a date for my daughter? All young people are like this now. His expression immediately changed, and he quickly squeezed in front of the phone. Yishu, you are still young, watch slowly, don't be in a hurry. You can't agree to someone's proposal as soon as they propose to you. You have to observe them carefully for 2 or 3 years and know their character clearly, you know. I know, don't I just want to think about it? Dad, don't talk nonsense. My boyfriend is very busy every day. We can only contact him today. He hasn't mentioned marriage to me yet. It's me. Thought. Dad Chi became anxious when he heard this. Why are you so busy? You are his girlfriend. According to you, he didn't contact you before today. Even if he is not a young man, he knows that this is not how young people talk today. Dad Chi suddenly thought of something and his voice dropped. He's not from your school? Is he already working? This makes people a little worried. How can girls who have not left school resist those who are already in society? No, he is a student of our school, as old as me. He is busy because... Chi Yishu looked around carefully and saw that no one was paying attention to him, so he whispered with a little excitement and a little show-off that he wanted to share with his family. He has been recruited into the Ministry of National Defense and is working for the country. The Ministry of National Defense was studying what he made a few days ago, so people inside were not allowed to contact the outside. Today he can contact me. Dad, let me tell you, in fact, he also made this protective shield. He just returned it. Tell me. Dad Chi, he is as old as you, and then he goes to work in the country. Chi Yishu responded excitedly. Dad Chi, in order to study the things he made, the country does not allow people inside to contact the outside. Is it to keep it secret? Chi Yishu, yes. Dad Chi, he also made the protective shield for today's news broadcast. Chi Yishu's face flushed with excitement and he nodded wildly. Yes, Dad. He is very powerful, isn't he? Ah, why do I have such good taste? I have found such a good boyfriend. Dad Chi, haha. A young boy as old as his daughter did such a series of things. How can it be? Only a silly little girl like his daughter who has not yet graduated from school would believe it. Dad Chi calmed down his voice. Is he really from your school? What's his name? Chi Yishu happily replied, he's from our school. His name is Ji Chang's. Dad, let me tell you, Chang's is really outstanding. Well, excellent. How about this, Yishu, your mother and I are going to the capital for a trip, and we will meet him then. Chi Yishu was a little shy. Are you meeting your parents so early? Isn't it a bit too soon? It's okay, I'm not happy. Father Chi told his daughter that they would send her the date, then hung up the phone, took a deep breath and exhaled, and got up and rummaged around the house. Chi's mother looked at him strangely. What are you doing? Dad Chi didn't look back, and asked as he turned over, where is my nunchaku? Have you seen my nunchaks? A week later, almost everyone in the country knew about the protective shield due to the country's brainwashing propaganda. It was launched by the country. In addition, there were live broadcast experiments by various people on the internet. Rich and poor, almost everyone had one. There is no way, this is life. On the same day, Chi's father and Chi's mother boarded a plane to the capital. After Ji Chang's received Chi Yishu's call, he sat silently by the window and looked outside. Zhang Xingzheng was guarding behind him dutifully when Chen Xingdong suddenly knocked on the door and came in. Seeing Zhang Xing turning around and looking at him doubtfully, Chen Xingdong strode forward and gave Ji Chang's a military salute. Comrade Nagasawa, there was a major earthquake in the southwest district 20 minutes ago. A large number of people are currently buried, but as of now, there are 0 casualties found. Everyone is wearing protective masks and is well protected. Now we only need to use Sui Ming to quickly rescue the victims. Thank you very much. If it weren't for you, there would definitely be heavy casualties this time. Ji Chang's glanced at him silently and continued to look outside. System, it is detected that the host has changed the history process. Please answer the host. Ji Chang's, yes, I have changed. System, answer completed. Please inform the system in advance the next time the host changes the process according to the unspoken rules. Changing the historical process requires purchasing cheats. Ji Chang's asked it, why buy Goldfinger? System, without a cheat, it is impossible to change the course of history. It is too difficult. Ji Chang's, What was the first thing you said after you came out? System. Yes, Ji Chang's didn't have a golden finger, but he still changed the course of history. It persists in its final stubbornness, then the host should also inform the system in advance. Ji Chang's, you fell asleep. Can you hear what I said? By the way, if you sleep during working hours, is that considered irresponsible? System. Ji Chang's, is there anything else? Do you want to watch the stars together? Ding. Your system is offline. While Ji Chang's was watching the stars, the upper management had already held countless meetings about his precious egg. We must protect. If it hadn't been for him this time, the Southwest District would never be as easy as it is now. Moreover, this classmate is still so young, and his future will never stop at this step. Yes, I agree. I agree too. So, in the middle of the night, he ran out to an internet cafe, sneered, continued to open a trumpet and passionately insulted Ji Chang's on the forum, and by the way, Wang Xichuan, who dragged Qi Yishu into the water, was greeted by the armed police. After learning from the armed police why a group of people suddenly rushed in the middle of the night and controlled her. Wang Xichuan. Isn't she just a keyboard warrior? Is it illegal to be a keyboard warrior?